Welcome everyone. I noticed that over 70% of viewers aren't subscribed. If you're enjoying the content, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and keeps me motivated to upload daily. Thanks for subscribing, and now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 61 Action. Jiang Heng returned to Chongming Street. Having undergone the previous purge and his deterrence during this period, Chongming Street had taken on a completely new look. The streets were clean and tidy, and vacant shops were taken over by ordinary merchants, renovated, and ordinary people also had space to survive, able to walk openly on the streets. Jiang Heng drove through the streets and alleys, parking downstairs from the garrison office. At this time, in front of the garrison office building, a black, high-end car was already parked. Next to the car stood a middle-aged man wearing a black gentleman's suit. Seeing Jiang Heng's car stop, the middle-aged man quickly approached and bowed slightly to Jiang Heng. "Team Leader Jiang, I've finally waited for you." Jiang Heng sat in the driver's seat, his eyes calmly sweeping over the person outside the window. "Who are you?" "I am Jia Pengxing, the manager of the Red Fu Bar, making a living under Master Lu." Jiang Heng smiled. "Oh, Master Lu is Lu Yuheng, right?" "Exactly." Jia Pengxing nodded slightly. "What do you want from me?" Jia Pengxing smiled and said, "My Master Lu seems to have some misunderstanding with Team Leader Jiang, so he asked me to invite Team Leader Jiang over for a gathering, to have a meal. After all, as the old saying goes, it's better to resolve enmity than to create it. I think Team Leader Jiang should have already seen Master Lu's sincerity." "Okay." Jiang Heng replied calmly, with a faint smile on his lips. Jia Pengxing was slightly stunned. He had already prepared to be rejected, but he didn't expect to receive this kind of answer. He opened his mouth, and the rhetoric he had already prepared had to be swallowed back into his stomach. "Then, please get in the car with me, Team Leader Jiang." Jiang Heng calmly opened the car door next to the driver's seat, got out of the car, followed Jia Pengxing to the side of the car, and sat in the back seat. Jia Pengxing opened the car door, sat in the driver's seat, and couldn't help but glance at Jiang Heng. He actually got in the car. "I really don't know if this Martial Security Bureau team leader is fearless or arrogant. But this has nothing to do with him. Since this person is willing to go, then he will send him to Master Lu." The black high-end car ignited and started, driving slowly. 20 minutes later, it slowly stopped in front of a bar. The entire bar was a 5-story building, with the words, "Red Fu," written on the sign. At this time, it was not yet evening, so the bar door was quite deserted. Jia Pengxing got out of the front door and opened the back door for Jiang Heng. Jiang Heng got out of the car. "This is the place, right?" "Yes, please come with me, Team Leader Jiang." Jia Pengxing then led Jiang Heng into the bar. In the neon-lit lobby, a few scattered figures were sitting on the sofas in the shadowy corners, seemingly drinking and chatting. In fact, their eyes were intentionally or unintentionally looking in the direction of Jiang Heng. Jiang Heng's expression remained unchanged, and he followed Jia Pengxing all the way up to the footbath on the 2nd floor, the hotel on the 3rd floor, and finally to the door of the private room on the top floor of the 5th floor. Jia Pengxing knocked on the door and said, "Master Lu, Team Leader Jiang has arrived. Please invite him in." "Yes." Jia Pengxing pushed open the door of the private room. Jiang Heng saw a sturdy young man, nearly 2 meters tall, sitting in front of a round table in the private room, sitting on a single sofa. The heavy body was almost deeply sunk into the sofa, exuding a faint sense of oppression. On both sides of the round table stood 2 warriors in black suits, and it could be seen that they were at least late-stage 2nd grade. The one sitting on the sofa was Lu Yuheng, the southwest Red Pole of the Hongmen branch in Yukon district. Lu Yuheng stood up with a smile. "Come, Brother Jiang, come and sit down. I have prepared a table of good dishes for you, just waiting for you to come. Old Jia, tell the kitchen to serve the dishes." "Yes." Jia Pengxing nodded, then turned and left. Lu Yuheng then beckoned to Jiang Heng. "Come, Brother Jiang, come and sit down, the dishes will be served soon." Jiang Heng pulled out a chair and sat down, his eyes calmly looking at Lu Yuheng. Those eyes seemed to be looking at what tricks a monkey could play. The smile on Lu Yuheng's face gradually faded a bit, and he said, "Brother Jiang, this matter is really a misunderstanding. It was not my order that those 2 stowaways attacked you. It was my subordinate who acted privately, and the person has already been sent to you for you to dispose of as you wish. I have nothing to say." At this time, the kitchen had already brought the dishes to the table, and the steaming heat of the soup enveloped the tabletop. Lu Yuheng gently tapped the table, slowly squinting his eyes, and a faint sense of oppression suddenly filled the private room. I have always valued harmony. I don't think there is any major conflict between us. Let the past be the past. The person who deserved to die has already been sent to you, and I will not hold you accountable for destroying Chongming Street and Hongqing Human Resources Company. In the future, let's make things easier for each other, what do you think? Jiang Heng smiled casually. If you want me to make things easier, there should be some benefits, right? There are naturally benefits, and they will definitely satisfy Brother Jiang. But there is one condition that I want Brother Jiang to agree to. Lu Yuheng stared at Jiang Heng and said slowly, I hope Brother Jiang will no longer interfere in the affairs of Hexing Street. The reason why he went to so much trouble to invite Jiang Heng here was for the human trafficking business in Hexing Street. This is not as simple as an ordinary business. If he doesn't do this well, his identity as the Southwest Red Pole might not be preserved. Since he failed to kill Jiang Heng before, he can only achieve his goal in other ways. But no matter what, the business in Hexing Street must be reopened. Jiang Heng nodded slightly. So it's because of this, it seems that those human experiments are very important to you. He looked up at the clock on the wall. Estimating that Qinan and his Team 7, as well as Lu Zehai's Team 4, should be almost here. Before he came, he had already contacted Qinan and asked him to contact Lu Zehai from Team 4 to come together. The main purpose was not to let them participate in the battle, but to avoid letting any fish escape the net. When Lu Yuheng heard Jiang Heng's words, his eyes gradually turned cold. From what you're saying, you're unwilling. Naturally. Jiang Heng stood up from his chair and said calmly, you bunch of worthless trash are worthy of talking about cooperation with me. Lu Yuheng stared at Jiang Heng, and suddenly a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Haha, do you think you're okay just because you didn't eat the dishes on the table? Before you came, the B1 type nerve toxin was released in the room. In just 3 minutes, it can prevent the qi in your body from being fully mobilized. Lu Yuheng learned yesterday that Lin Lang and Peng Xiaochuan were killed by Jiang Heng. He knew very well the strength of Lin Lang and the other. And Jiang Heng was able to kill these two in a 2-on-1 fight, which proved that Jiang Heng was also at the peak of the second grade. With such strength, he would naturally be careful. Therefore, he specially took out this extremely expensive B1 type nerve toxin aerosol as a trap, waiting for Jiang Heng's arrival. This drug is colorless and odorless when released, but it will subtly reduce the opponent's muscle control ability. In just a few minutes, it can cause the opponent to be unable to mobilize the biological energy in the body and condense it into qi, and most of their strength will be wasted. Let alone a second-grade warrior, even a third-grade warrior will suffer a great loss of strength if they are accidentally caught. Only by taking a special antidote in advance can it be removed. If Jiang Heng is sensible, the antidote will naturally be given to him. But if he is not sensible, then Lu Yuheng naturally has other means waiting for him. After saying this, Lu Yuheng stood up, his huge body overlooking Jiang Heng, and the shadow cast seemed to swallow him. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, since you're courting death, then don't blame. Lu Yuheng hadn't finished speaking. A gust of wind suddenly exploded in his ears, and a fist peak wrapped in fierce force quickly magnified in front of his eyes. Chapter 62 Crushing. A sharp sonic boom echoed within the top-floor private room. The massive fist tore through the air, whipping up a gale within the room, the qi sensation surging through muscle and meridian. Lu Yuheng's pupils shrank, his body shifted back, and he fell sharply to the side and rear, but it was too late. The heavy fist still slammed into the left side of his face. Bang! Half of his left cheek caved in, his cheekbone and jaw instantly cracking, splattering blood. Whoosh! The violent impact sent him flying, smashing directly through the wall behind him. Lu Yuheng's face throbbed in pain, astonishment filling his heart. Why could he still use qi sensation after being poisoned with the B1 nerve toxin? Across from him, Jiang Heng kicked over the dining table, steadying his stance. What B1 nerve toxin? It had absolutely no effect on him. After consuming an unknown amount of poison, his poison resistance had long since reached an absurd level. No matter how much of this nerve toxin he inhaled, it would be instantly crushed by his body's immune cells. With a thought, Jiang Heng instantly activated second-order blood ignition. The blood within his body boiled, his muscles bulged like undulating hills, and his figure instantly grew an inch taller. He took a step forward, about to kill Lu Yuheng. Stop him. Lu Yuheng had already flipped to his feet. He was also a peak second-order body refinement martial artist, only one step away from third order. Although his face was severely injured, his mobility was not impaired. He gave Jiang Heng a dark look and retreated rapidly. The remaining two second-order martial artists in the top-floor private room, along with Jia Pengxing and the Hongmen disciples guarding the door, had already surrounded the entire room. At Lu Yuheng's command, they swarmed toward Jiang Heng. Watching the martial artists surging from all directions, Jiang Heng remained calm and still. Whoosh! The second-order martial artist in black in front of him planted his left foot, his right leg transforming into a black snake that seemed eager to devour someone, biting toward Jiang Heng's waist. Bang! Before the black snake could reach Jiang Heng, a right leg suddenly appeared at the black-clothed martial artist's waist and abdomen, slamming down. A bowl-sized blood hole caved in on his waist, his body instantly arching into the shape of a shrimp. The massive force instantly sent him flying, smashing through 2 walls in a row, traversing the entire building, his life or death unknown. Jiang Heng retracted his right leg, a few traces of blood still remaining on it. The strengthening of the neural network by the Dao seed fragment wasn't just limited to enhancing Jiang Heng's dodging ability. It also enhanced his reaction speed, even allowing him to strike after the opponent moved. At the same time, the martial artists behind him swarmed forward, fists, legs, specialized alloy weapons, and some even raised guns to shoot at Jiang Heng's face. However, these countless fierce attacks completely failed to touch Jiang Heng at all. In a short instant, he dodged all attacks by a hair's breadth, his chi sensation running through the 12-story pagoda, guiding the Ren and Du meridians in endless circulation. He executed the White 8/3 style, 1,000 shadows under the moon. As his figure shifted, his palms transformed into hundreds and thousands of illusory shadows, killing all the Hongmen disciples around him. Reaching the third-order neural reaction speed was an overwhelming advantage for lower-level martial artists. Severed limbs flew, blood splattered. A thick, bloody stench filled the air. After a few short breaths, the spacious private room was silent, the ground littered with 7 or 8 corpses missing arms and legs. The remaining Hongmen disciples were pale, staring blankly at Jiang Heng, who was unscathed and still standing tall in the center of the room. Ha ha ha. Jia Pengxing's eyes bulged, his neck gripped by Jiang Heng's iron-like hand, a hint of pleading in his eyes. Crack. Jiang Heng remained unmoved, calmly crushing his neck and dropping the body. The pheromone pressure from second-order blood ignition, coupled with the pungent, nauseating stench of blood in the room, made Jiang Heng's figure seem like a god of slaughter. Fear snapped the last nerve, and the first Hongmen disciple fled in terror. This escape was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, and the other Hongmen disciples also turned and ran madly downstairs. Jiang Heng took out his phone, glanced down at the screen, and ignored them. 7th Squad's Qinan and his team of 3, and Lu Zehai's 4th Squad, had already arrived on the scene. After hearing the commotion, they had probably surrounded the building from downstairs. These people couldn't escape. The primary target now was. Jiang Heng's gaze shifted, and he looked up at the depths of the corridor. Lu Yuheng hadn't escaped downstairs, but instead turned and rushed into the room at the end of the corridor. Jiang Heng's figure moved, transforming into a black lightning bolt, rapidly killing his way into the depths of the corridor. Drip 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 drip. At the end of the corridor on the 5th floor of the Red Fu Bar, was a secret room sealed off by a thick metal partition. Half of Lu Yuheng's face was still dripping blood, revealing some frightening, jagged bone. However, he couldn't care less about any of this, and was squatting in front of a safe embedded in the wall, quickly entering numbers. Damn it! Lu Yuheng's eyes were gloomy, and he cursed softly. He never expected that even the B1 nerve toxin would be ineffective against Jiang Heng. The most uptack new uptack small uptack say uptack in uptack 6 uptack 9 uptack book uptack bar uptack first uptack release. Even more bizarre was Jiang Heng's movements. This was not a reaction speed that a second-order body refinement martial artist could possess. This person's strength had even surpassed the peak of second order. His subordinates were probably unable to stop Jiang Heng for long, and now he could only rely on the things in the safe. Click. The safe door opened, revealing a bottle of dark red liquid sealed in a special alloy. Lu Yuheng's expression relaxed, and he reached out to take the liquid. This bottle of liquid wasn't actually his, or rather, it was only temporarily stored by him. Its value was extremely high, and if he consumed it himself, there would probably be big trouble afterward. But in this situation, he couldn't care too much. As long as he took this special solution, his combat power could reach third-order body refinement, and that Jiang Heng outside would definitely not be his opponent. At that time, he would be able to crush that guy and easily escape Yuquan district. Thinking of this, a hint of joy appeared on Lu Yuheng's face, and he reached out to open the alloy seal of the bottle of solution. Bang! A deafening sound exploded in the room, and the heavy metal door collapsed in response. Jiang Heng stepped into the secret room. Lu Yuheng's expression changed drastically. Damn it, what a bunch of useless people, they couldn't even block him for such a short time. He immediately raised the bottle of solution, about to send it into his mouth. Jiang Heng's eyes narrowed, and he instantly noticed the problem. Qi sensation was like a waterfall hanging upside down, flowing through the foot Taiyang bladder meridian, and he executed the white 8/4 style, ninefold waterfall. 9 consecutive steps forward were taken on the ground, pulling out an afterimage, each step increasing the force by 30%, striking down from midair at the peak. Palm force was like the Milky Way falling for 9 days, tearing through the gale and turning into a waterfall, slamming down on Lu Yuheng's right hand. The extreme force almost made Jiang Heng's palm edge like a knife, instantly severing Lu Yuheng's arm. His arm broke and blood splattered. Lu Yuheng groaned in pain. The bottle of dark red solution in his hand also flew into the sky, about to spill out. Jiang Heng's eyes shifted, and he reached out with his left hand, easily catching it, pressing his thumb on the shell and reclosing the lid of its seal. Lu Yuheng staggered back 2 steps, the pain of his broken arm frantically stimulating his nerves. He stared intently at the solution in Jiang Heng's hand, his eyes bloodshot. This was his last hope for escape, and he must not let it fall into Jiang Heng's hands. He instantly erupted with all his qi sensation, executing a martial skill and killing his way toward Jiang Heng, roaring. Give it to me. Jiang Heng retreated half a step like a ghost, easily dodging Lu Yuheng's pouncing attack. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said calmly, courting death. His right arm bent, leapt forward and pressed down, and the majestic qi sensation converged towards his right elbow, instantly like a tiger pouncing on its prey. 8 arms fist, tiger fang skull crusher. The elbow pierced like a tiger's tooth, piercing into Lu Yuheng's crown in the blink of an eye, deeply penetrating it. The secret room was silent. Lu Yuheng's expression froze, his mouth slightly open, as if he wanted to say something, but only blood could gush out of his mouth. His pupils gradually dilated, and his body slowly slid to the ground. Jiang Heng glanced at the corpse on the ground, then retracted his gaze, looking at the dark red solution in his hand, his eyes slightly puzzled. What is this? The entire shell of the solution was made of special alloys and special glass, and the shell material alone would cost at least 200,000 or 300,000. And the things stored inside were probably even more precious. Chapter 63 Cleaning Plan. Inside the secret chamber. Jiang Heng picked up the dark red potion, turning the bottle over and examining its base, but found no markings of any kind. He pondered for a moment, then placed the bottle of solution into his pocket. Since he couldn't identify it, he would take it back first and have a research institute analyze its components later, which should reveal what the solution was. He stepped over Lu Yuheng's corpse on the ground and walked out of the secret chamber. Just then, boom! A booming sound exploded as rubble flew along the corridor. Lu Zehai crashed through the outer wall of the top floor, rushing into the corridor. His body seemed to be coated in a faint bronze light, transforming him into a bronze Buddha, his eyes like lightning, his aura astonishing. His cold gaze swept around, only to see a scene of severed limbs and broken arms, the stench of blood pungent. He was slightly taken aback, instinctively turning his head to look deeper into the corridor. He saw Jiang Heng walking out of the secret chamber, nodding at him after noticing him. Lao Lu, you're here. Lu Zehai looked at him with some confusion. Where's Lu Yuheng? Jiang Heng pointed behind him, inside, already dead. A look of astonishment appeared on Lu Zehai's face. He had just learned from Chinan that Jiang Heng had gone alone to see Lu Yuheng, so he immediately led a team to rush over. He had assumed that Jiang Heng, facing so many Hongmen experts alone, probably wouldn't last long. So he directly unleashed his full power, intending to rush to the top floor to provide support, but he didn't expect that when he rushed up, the battle was already over. Lu Zehai's expression was somewhat complicated. You're at level 3. Not yet. Jiang Heng smiled, and before Lu Zehai could breathe a sigh of relief, he added, but I should be soon. The corner of Lu Zehai's mouth twitched, and a sense of urgency arose in his heart. When Jiang Heng was at body refinement level 0, he was at level 2 peak. When Jiang Heng reached body refinement level 1, he was at level 2 peak. Now that Jiang Heng was already at level 2 peak, he was still at level 2 peak. Damn it, if this continued, Jiang Heng would reach level 3 before him. Being easily surpassed by his own team member, if this got out, where would Lu Zehai's face be? But he was also close, at most a month, and he would be able to break through to body refinement level 3. Lu Zehai comforted himself, deciding to cultivate with all his might from now on. The two then walked downstairs, meeting up with the members of Group 7 and Group 4 below, and capturing the other subordinates of Liu Yuheng in the Red Fu bar. At the same time, they contacted the police and members of several nearby groups to come and help, escorting all the criminals in the bar back to the Martial Security Bureau for interrogation. Subsequently, the news that Hongmen Red Bull Liu Yuheng had been killed by Jiang Heng quickly spread, immediately alarming the entire Martial Security Bureau. The Hongmen forces were deeply rooted in the Yukon district, and the Yukon District Martial Security Bureau had been fighting them for many years. Although they were gradually cutting away at their power, progress was still very slow, and this was the first time they had killed one of their Red Bull level experts. Yukon District Martial Security Branch, 3rd Squad Office. Jiang Heng was writing a case record at his desk when Duan Zhenyu walked into the office and patted him on the shoulder. "Stop writing, the director is here." Jiang Heng was slightly taken aback, then put down the pen in his hand and turned to look behind him. The director of the Yukon District Martial Security Bureau, Zhang Yunliang, walked in from the doorway at this moment, nodding at him gently. Jiang Heng stood up and nodded, saying, "Director." Zhang Yunliang smiled. "Xiao Zhang, you really are quiet, and you've done another big thing for me." "Director, you're joking, it was that Hongmen Red Bull who wanted to attack me. I was forced to retaliate, that's why I killed them." "Well done." In the past, the team members in the bureau were too rule-abiding and afraid to act, which is why it was always difficult to deal with Hongmen. Your killing can be considered as giving our Yukon district branch a bit of prestige. Zhang Yunliang was quite satisfied with Jiang Heng, reaching out and patting him on the shoulder. "Very good, keep up the good work. When you break through to body refinement level 3 and are promoted to squad leader level, I will apply to the main bureau to help you form the 4th squad." Jiang Heng was slightly taken aback, his eyes then lighting up. Although the group leaders within the bureau only need to break through to body refinement level 3 and accumulate more than 50,000 merit points to be promoted to squad leader level. But, squad leader level, and official squad leader, are still very different. After all, the Yukon District Martial Security Bureau only has 3 squads in total. And the position of squad leader is one radish in one hole. It's impossible to directly let a newcomer squeeze out the previous squad leader. Therefore, even if a group leader is subsequently promoted to squad leader level within the bureau, they can only wait until a vacancy appears in the squad leader position of the Martial Security Bureau in other areas before they can go there to take office. Or simply choose to be transferred to the military department. The former takes a long time, and it's unknown how long it will take. As for the latter, the rules and restrictions of the military department are too many. Jiang Heng definitely doesn't plan to go. And Zhang Yunliang's promise to form a new squad can save Jiang Heng a lot of effort. Even if he is promoted later, he won't have to transfer to the Martial Security Branch in other districts to readapt to the environment. The newest novel is first published on 69 Shu. Ba. Jiang Heng was delighted in his heart, nodding and saying, "Thank you, director. It's all a small matter." Zhang Yunliang waved his hand. "This time you killed the Hongmen Red Bull. It's a very rare opportunity to counterattack. In the afternoon the entire bureau will organize a meeting to commend you. At the same time, taking advantage of this opportunity, we will concentrate our forces and wipe out the criminal gangs and evil forces in the southwestern region." Yes. In the afternoon, Zhang Yunliang organized a meeting in the conference hall, requiring all team members to attend. At the meeting, he solemnly commended Jiang Heng for his achievements since taking office as group leader, and encouraged all martial security team members to learn from Jiang Heng. For a time, Jiang Heng's name completely spread throughout the 3 squads of the Yukon District Martial Security Bureau, attracting much attention. Moreover, Zhang Yunliang also announced the implementation of the Sweep the Southwest plan at the meeting, arranging for the 3 squads of the Martial Security Bureau to concentrate their forces and comprehensively sweep the evil forces in the southwestern region of Yukon District, preventing the Hongmen forces in the southwestern region from making a comeback. Such a move was obviously intended to take this opportunity to completely tear off face with Stone Buddha Peng Long and officially start a war. On the evening of the day after the meeting ended, the 3 squads each mobilized manpower, quickly located the Hongmen-affiliated forces in the southwestern region, and launched arrest operations. It was not until 2 days later that this large-scale arrest operation came to a temporary end. The interrogation section and the internal affairs section had to work overtime again to interrogate the criminals and calculate the merit points for the Martial Security Bureau team members who participated in the operation. Chongming Street Garrison Room. Jiang Heng finished today's joint arrest mission and returned to the garrison room. After taking a shower, he changed into clean clothes. He sat at his computer desk, leaning back in his office chair, pondering silently. This time, Zhang Yunliang was obviously serious, planning to tear a piece of flesh from Hongmen's body. And Stone Buddha Pang Long certainly wouldn't sit still and wait for death, he would definitely look for opportunities to counterattack. As for himself, the fuse that triggered this action. Jiang Heng frowned slightly at this thought. If it had been before, Hongmen might not have dared to openly attack a Martial Security Bureau group leader. But now that they had torn off face, that was not necessarily the case. In addition to Stone Buddha Pang Long, a level 3 peak, Yukon District Hongmen also had more than one level 3 martial artist. Jiang Heng slowly withdrew his thoughts. Then he took out the dark red solution he had obtained from Liu Yuheng earlier and carefully examined it. What exactly is this? The dark red solution in his hand diffused circles of light under the illumination of the lamp, appearing somewhat dazzling and mesmerizing. 2 days ago, he had taken a drop of this dark red solution and sent it to a research institute in Yukon District for examination. But the final result was just a composition table with a large number of unknowns. Chapter 64 8-Armed Fist completed. After failing to get results in a formal research institute, Jiang Heng thought of Pei Yu at the Hongyu Clinic in Angsan Street. So yesterday, he took the time to go to Hongyu Clinic in Angsan Street again, extracted 0.1 milliliters of this dark red solution, and gave it to Pei Yu to check its composition. Pei Yu's knowledge in medicine and biology is no less than that of some professor-level experts. She even has extremely impressive knowledge in some confidential biology fields that are difficult for outsiders to access. Although he doesn't know where she got these professional knowledge from. But based on Jiang Heng's observation during this period, he still relatively trusts Pei Yu's character. I wonder what the results are from Pei Yu's side. If she really can't find out, I might as well just drink it directly. Looking at the dark red solution in front of him, Jiang Heng pondered. Anyway, he possesses disease erosion, so it doesn't matter even if this thing is really poisonous. But he's just afraid that this solution has some special uses, and drinking it directly might be a waste. Thinking of this, he took out his phone and found the chat interface with Pei Yu. Jiang Heng, Xiao Yu, what are the results of the reagent I gave you to check yesterday? The moment Jiang Heng sent the message, Pei Yu on the other side immediately replied. Pei Yu, some ingredients have been checked, but it cannot be completely determined yet. It will probably take until tomorrow morning to get the final result. Jiang Heng nodded slightly. As expected, Pei Yu is still reliable, so he will go there tomorrow afternoon. After replying to Pei Yu, he put away his phone and opened the panel to take a look. His physical body level is still stuck at level 2.99. This boundary from breaking through from physical body level 2 to physical body level 3 does have a certain difficulty. Narcissus peptide has basically lost its effect, and the speed of promoting the physical body level of the Scarlet Flame Golden Body Paste with the level 2 candlelight breathing method is also becoming increasingly slow. At this rate, it will probably take another half a month to break through to physical body level 3. It's a bit slow. Jiang Heng pondered in his heart. Under normal circumstances, this speed would naturally be extremely fast, and he could just cultivate step by step. But the current situation is that the atmosphere between the Yukon District Wuhan Bureau and Hongmen is becoming increasingly tense. Stone Buddha Pang Long cannot sit idly by and watch such a large piece of territory in the southwest of Yukon District be lost. He still has to improve to physical body level 3 as soon as possible. Although the progress of physical body level improvement has slowed down, the progress of open double angle bracket 8 arms fist close double angle bracket and deep muscle potential is very gratifying. Jiang Heng moved his gaze down and looked at the martial arts line. Martial arts, 8 arms fist proficiency 90%. After practicing today, I should be able to cultivate the 8 arms fist to perfection and develop the deep muscle potential to 90%. Jiang Heng nodded slightly and closed the panel. Then he left the room, came to the martial arts room, stood still, and began to practice open double angle bracket 8 arms fist close double angle bracket. The movements of fist, elbow, knee, and leg are as precise as a machine, but the qi sensation condensed by the bioenergy of the cells in the body always travels in the opposite direction of the meridians. The familiar intense pain spread from the meridians to the nerves. 3 hours later, the sky gradually darkened. Jiang Heng stopped practicing, feeling the severe pain and numbness brought by the severe biological muscle syndrome all over his body. He silently said in his heart, "Disease erosion, convert." Afterwards, the gentle and profound power of disease erosion quickly converted and cleared the lesions, converting them into the experience and memory of open double angle bracket 8 arms fist close double angle bracket. After a few breaths, the severe biological muscle syndrome subsided to mild. The various experience and memories about open double angle bracket 8 arms fist close double angle bracket in his mind accumulated rapidly. It was as if he had practiced this martial art for countless years, completely honing it to perfection. At the same time, his control over deep muscles is also rapidly increasing. The power of disease erosion gradually dissipated. Jiang Heng opened his eyes, moved his mind, and opened the panel again, finding the expansion item of physical body level. Martial arts, 8 arms fist perfect. Deep muscle potential, 90%. Huff. Jiang Heng slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and nodded in satisfaction as he looked at the data on the panel. Finally, the deep muscle potential has been raised to 90%. According to rumors, if a level 2 peak martial artist can develop deep physical potential to more than 90%. The amount of chi sensation condensed by the bioenergy in the body is enough to initially release it outside the body, which is somewhat similar to the true chi release in ancient legends. Jiang Heng had a bit more expectation in his heart. Let's try it. He stood still and began to mobilize all the bioenergy in the skin and muscle cells in his body, gradually converging into a thick swimming dragon. Then he stretched out his palm, and the swimming dragon transformed by this chi sensation quickly converged along the blood veins to his palm. A circle of transparent ripples suddenly appeared in the palm, as if a mass of invisible and colorless aura was gathering above the palm. Jiang Heng moved his mind and took out an alloy javelin from the weapon rack in the corner of the martial arts room. Then he attached the aura in his palm to this alloy javelin. The originally fragile alloy javelin was immediately coated with a layer of faint light, and its hardness increased greatly. Jiang Heng raised his arm and suddenly swung it out. At the same time, the aura attached to the alloy javelin instantly exploded, pushing the javelin to shoot forward at high speed. Bang! The javelin penetrated the metal target of the strength testing instrument in front of the martial arts room and shot out from the rear. At the same time, it pierced through the wall of the martial arts room, rushed into the sky, and disappeared. Seeing this, Jiang Heng's eyes lit up. The metal target of this strength testing instrument is specially made, and the maximum force it can withstand is level 2 peak. Since this javelin can penetrate the metal target, it shows that the power it explodes has exceeded level 2 peak and reached a level close to physical body level 3. The latest novels are available at Luju Shu Ba. Is this the power of chi sensation release? Jiang Heng nodded in satisfaction, and then continued to try other effects of chi sensation release. The next morning, Pei Yu sent a message to Jiang Heng, informing him that the test results of the bottle of dark red solution had come out. Jiang Heng immediately left the guard room and came to Hongyu Clinic in Angsan Street. Xiao Yu. Jiang Heng stepped into the porch of the clinic. At this time, the Hongyu Clinic had been completely renewed. The old and dilapidated doors and walls were repainted, truly resembling a clinic. Jiang Heng did not treat her badly when he asked Pei Yu to help make Narcissus peptide before. In addition to buying equipment, he also gave her a lot of remuneration to help her renovate and build the clinic. In the pharmacy room on the right side of the clinic, Pei Yu heard the voice outside the door and quickly walked out. Compared to a month ago, the complexion on her face has improved a lot, her originally thin body has become much straighter, and the whole person is very different. The old and yellowed sterile suit has also been replaced with a brand new white coat, and a pair of frameless glasses are worn on the bridge of her nose, adding a bit of the temperament of an elite scholar. The only pity is that the deep scar on her face destroys this feeling. Big brother Jiang. Jiang Heng nodded slightly. Have the test results come out? Pei Yu took out a report card and handed it to Jiang Heng, and said, it has been found out, this should be a new type of bone erosion virus metabolic solution. Jiang Heng raised his eyebrows slightly. Bone erosion virus. Pei Yu nodded and gently supported the frameless glasses. Yes, this type of virus can stimulate the rapid metabolism of bone marrow and enhance strength. This bottle of solution should be used for level 2 peak martial artists who cannot break through to physical body level 3. Once taken, the bone erosion virus in the solution will quickly erode the bones of the whole body, accelerate the whole body metabolism, and help the user quickly step into physical body level 3. Jiang Heng's heart moved, and he said in surprise, so powerful. He hadn't seen such a good auxiliary potion in the Wuhan Bureau Mall. How could such a good thing appear in Lu Yuheng's hands? Pei Yu shook her head and continued to add, but the problem is that there are side effects. The bone erosion virus is difficult to remove. It will take root and sprout in the bones of the whole body, destroying the original ecological structure of the bone marrow, causing it to become diseased. The user's bones will become abnormally brittle, and the real combat power will definitely not be as good as a normal level 3 martial artist. And as time goes by, this pathological change will continue to intensify. If it is not curbed, it will eventually lead to death within 3 to 5 years. Jiang Heng nodded slightly, thoughtful in his heart. This side effect is indeed very strong, and ordinary martial artists would definitely not dare to try to take it. But I am different. After taking it, I can quickly break through to physical body level 3, and there will be serious bone lesions. After this, bone lesion is converted by disease erosion, maybe it can enhance my bone strength. Thinking of this, Jiang Heng's eyes lit up slightly. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 65 Physical Level 3. Angsan Street, Red Rain Clinic. Jiang Heng looked down at the report in his hand, which was covered in a string of special components and viruses that he couldn't understand at all. He suddenly thought of something, and his heart stirred slightly. Can you deduce how this new type of bone erosion virus was developed? Pei Yu thought for a moment and said, the original type 1 bone erosion virus was extracted from a mutated yak. Due to its diverse mutations, laboratories have continued to develop new types since then. As for the current bone erosion virus, since it can work on humans, then it's most likely researched and developed by some illegal and prohibited laboratory. The so-called mutated yak was originally an ordinary yak on Earth, but it mutated after the appearance of the Australian sky gate 200 years ago. In fact, not only yaks, but many animals on Earth have undergone partial mutations after the opening of the sky gate, leading to a great enrichment of Earth's species. Including the source of the narcissus peptide that Jiang Heng used before, the autophagy jellyfish is also the same. Some studies believe that it was the heavenly humans who brought the viruses, bacteria, and those special auras from the Skygate world to Earth, which led to the occurrence of this mutation phenomenon. Jiang Heng nodded thoughtfully after listening to Pei Yu's words. As expected, he guessed correctly. To be able to research and develop this kind of medicine, there must be a large-scale biological enterprise in Nanjing City that is secretly cooperating with Hongmen to carry out illegal and prohibited experimental research. He withdrew his thoughts and stuffed the report into his coat pocket. Okay, I understand. Thank you for your help. Pei Yu shook her head and said seriously, Brother Jiang, you don't need to be so polite. Your business is my business. Jiang Heng glanced at her and said calmly, well, if there is anything you need in your clinic in the future, you can tell me. It's already very good now. Since I got the certificate, many more people have come to me for treatment. At this moment, Pei Yu suddenly thought of something and continued. By the way, Brother Jiang, about the matter you asked me about last time, I have figured out the preparation method of some highly poisonous drugs, the C2-type nerve toxin, but I lack some raw materials to try. She pushed her glasses self-consciously. These materials are very expensive, and I can't afford them. Jiang Heng nodded slightly and said, just tell me how much money you need, or what materials you need. Although the 1.2 million he got from Chongming Street last time has been almost used up. But the cash seized from the Hongfu bar a few days ago has not yet been counted and divided. If there are no accidents, at least 1 million can be divided. Even if it's still not enough, it doesn't matter. With Jiang Heng's current strength and status, it is still very easy to get millions of dollars. Okay, thank you, Brother Jiang. A few more traces of excitement appeared in Pei Yu's eyes hidden behind her rimless glasses. She has been studying biomedicine since she was a child, and she is very interested in the preparation of this type of C-nerve toxin. The only thing that is worrying is the preparation of this military banned poison. Once discovered, life imprisonment is a light sentence, and there is even a high possibility of being sentenced to death. However, this kind of thing has now been thrown out of her mind. A moment later, Jiang Heng transferred the money to Pei Yu and put his phone back in his pocket. Okay, then I'll go first. If you have anything else, you can contact me at any time. Afterwards, Jiang Heng left the Red Rain Clinic and returned to the Chongming Street garrison room. He took out the bottle of new bone erosion virus solution sealed in a special alloy container and opened the seal. A faint metallic smell came from the seal into his nostrils. A hint of anticipation appeared in Jiang Heng's eyes. Drinking this bottle of solution, presumably, I can directly break through to the 3rd level of the physical body, and even its bone erosion side effects may even enhance my bone strength. He picked up the metal medicine bottle, took out the tungsten steel needle, drew out the entire bottle of dark red solution from the bottle, and injected it into the vein of his arm. According to what Pei Yu said just now, this bone erosion virus solution can be taken orally or injected. However, the effect of injection will be stronger, and of course, the corresponding side effects will be more violent. Soon, the entire bottle of 100 milliliters of dark red solution was injected into the vein of his arm. The blood in the veins seemed to awaken the dormant bone erosion virus in the solution. Jiang Heng could clearly feel that strands of scorching hot things, like strands of hair, merged into the depths of his flesh and blood, attached to the bones, and drilled towards the inside of the bones. A large number of viruses are invading the bones. The medullary substance of the whole body's bones is accelerating its metabolism. The invasion of the bone erosion virus instantly changed Jiang Heng's bone marrow, greatly improving the functions of hematopoiesis and other aspects, and a large amount of hormones were secreted under the stimulation of the auxiliary components in the solution. The cells of the whole body began to metabolize and transform rapidly during this process. A few seconds later, Jiang Heng breathed lightly, and the surface of his skin was dark red, like a hot iron. The body surface temperature was as high as 50 degrees Celsius, and the internal temperature was even higher than 60 degrees Celsius. Even the exhaled breath carried steaming mist. He leaned back on the office chair behind him, quietly waiting for the passage of time. Until a few minutes later. The dark red color on Jiang Heng's body surface had gradually faded, and his body temperature had returned to 38 or 9 degrees. Some kind of invisible boundary seemed to have been quietly broken through during the rapid transformation of the whole body's cells just now. Jiang Heng opened his eyes and casually took off his clothes, which had already been soaked with sweat, and the knotted and strong muscles showed a jade-like texture. With a thought, a semi-transparent panel appeared in his vision. Physical body level, 2.99 right pointing arrow 3.01. Finally broke through to the third level of the physical body. Jiang Heng stood up, like a jade sculpture rising, every inch of muscle seemed to be perfectly carved by hand. Vast power surged throughout his body. He could clearly feel that with just a casual movement, everything in his path would be fragmented. Jiang Heng was not in a hurry to act, but stood in place, manipulating every inch of his muscles through the neural network, gradually adapting to his current physical body. It was not until he could completely control his own power that he began to walk, manipulating the bioenergy in his own cells to gather into a chi sensation. The basic muscle strength should be between 6 and 7 tons. The overall bioenergy of the cells has increased by about 1 time, and the chi sensation that can be condensed in the body has also thickened by about 1 time. Jiang Heng walked around the entire room twice, silently analyzing his current strength in his heart. The strength of the neural network strengthened by the Dao seed fragment has grown synchronously, and should have reached the middle stage of the third level, close to the late stage. The only problem is, Jiang Heng slowly stretched his body, and the bones of his whole body suddenly made a fragile popping sound, like old and rusty bearings, which could break at any time. Chapter 66 Situation. Jiang Heng opened the panel and looked at the line, Current status. Current status, mild candleflame disease, mild biological motor dysfunction syndrome, bone-eating marrow-changing syndrome. At this moment, the bone-eating virus had already occupied his bone marrow, gnawing at his bones until they were weak and fragile, even beginning to draw nutrients from his body. He could clearly feel that if he were to throw a punch with all his might at this moment, his scapula and elbow joints would break before he even hit the enemy. What a strange virus. I wonder which biological company illegally researched this drug. They probably want to mass-produce Tier 3 martial artists. Jiang Heng stopped thinking and stood in place, a thought flashing through his mind. Disease erosion, conversion. The gentle power of disease erosion merged into his body, transforming into streams of warm currents, quickly sweeping away the bone-eating virus attached to his bones, and converting it into the power to repair and strengthen his bones. Under the sweep of this mysterious power, the bone-eating virus in his bones seemed to be terrified, and faintly showed a tendency to escape downwards along the bones. But in the next moment, it was completely swept away by the power of disease erosion. After a few seconds, all the bone-eating virus throughout his body was swept away, and the bone-eating marrow-changing syndrome in the current status line on the panel disappeared. Jiang Heng moved his body slightly, and the previously grating, old-fashioned creaking sound had completely disappeared. He only felt that his bones were unprecedentedly hard and strong. Jiang Heng raised his hand and suddenly threw a punch. The wind howled, and the rapidly compressed air slammed into the opposite wall from a distance, making a heavy thud. The most direct benefit of bone strengthening is the improvement of power-bearing capacity. If Jiang Heng's power limit was 100% when he unleashed his full strength before, then after the bone strength is improved, the upper limit of power burst may reach 120% or more. Jiang Heng nodded slightly in satisfaction, then went to the bathroom to rinse off his sweat-soaked body. Mist rose in the bathroom, and he pondered silently in his heart. Although I have only just entered Tier 3 body refinement, I have the blessing of Tier 3 mid-stage neural network and bone level. In addition, both advanced martial arts have been cultivated to perfection, and the potential of deep muscles has been developed to 90%. With this kind of strength, even among those martial artists who have entered Tier 3 for many years, I should have the power to fight. Jiang Heng took a dry towel from the hanger, dried his body, and changed into a clean uniform. When the merit points for capturing those 2 smugglers are approved, I should be able to officially be promoted to the level of detachment leader and practice the Tier 3 candleflame breathing technique. Yukon District, Emerald Bamboo Summer Resort. On the surface, this is just a summer resort built on the mountainside of Emerald Bamboo Mountain for people to travel and play. But in reality, it is a very secret stronghold of the Yukon District Hongmen branch. Underground of the resort, in a spacious hall, 8 Grandmaster chairs are placed around the square table in the center, but only 7 people are sitting there, and the seat in the southwest is vacant. Yukon District has 8 red sticks, hence the 8 positions, but at this moment, the southwest red stick Lu Yuheng has died, and this position is vacant. Directly in front of the square table, Shifo Peng Long's huge body with piled-up muscles sat on a 10-foot-wide alloy chair, overlooking the 7 red sticks sitting in front of the square table. A dull atmosphere permeated the air. Among the 7 red sticks, 4 are at the peak of Tier 2, and 3 have successfully broken through to Tier 3 body refinement. They are Copper Ghost Zhao Shan, Blood Rain Mo Sanyang, and Shadow Ding Yan. After martial artists enter Tier 3 body refinement, their chi can be released outside the body, and combined with the breathing techniques and martial arts they have learned, they will form a very distinct fighting style. Therefore, some rather distinctive nicknames were born. In fact, Duan Zhenyu in the Martial Security Agency and the other 2 detachment leaders, including Director Zhang Yunliang, all have nicknames in the outside world, but they just don't like to hear them. Copper Ghost Zhao Shan spoke first, his slightly hoarse voice echoing in the hall. Branch Master, the Martial Security Agency has completely occupied the southwest area. What should we do? What else can we do but kill? Blood Rain Mo Sanyang sneered, leaning against the back of the Grandmaster chair. Her slender body was wearing a wide robe, revealing a faint glimpse of spring. It's just that under the fair skin, clear muscle lines faintly burst out with extremely fierce power. The Martial Security Agency refuses a toast only to drink a forfeit. We have been retreating step by step over the years, and what we have gained is only the intensification of these lackeys. Only by killing a group of people can we let them know how powerful we are. For Hongmen, the Martial Security Agency is just a group of latecomers. The Yukon District Hongmen branch has been established for nearly 50 years, and its forces are intertwined and deeply rooted here. The Yukon District Martial Security Agency was only established 30 years ago, and its initial strength was naturally far inferior to Hongmen. If the Martial Security Agency did not have the joint government military as a backer, the Yukon District Hongmen would have strangled these uninvited guests 30 years ago. However, over the past few decades, the power of the Yukon District Martial Security Branch has steadily developed and grown, while Hongmen has been eroded step by step. Lu Yuheng is already dead. If this continues, I'm afraid that even the remaining red sticks will all die in the hands of the Martial Security Agency members. At this time, Shifo Peng Long, who was sitting on the big chair, finally spoke, calmly saying, "Since they are seeking death, then don't blame us for being impolite. I have already contacted the main branch master. The Yukon District Martial Security Agency is bullying people too much. He will unite the elites from the political and business circles of Nanjong City to put pressure on the Nanjong City government and set conditions. Designate the battlefield within Yukon District and do not allow martial artists above Tier 4 body refinement to participate in the war." Hongmen has been entrenched in Nanjong City for decades and has a large network of contacts in the political and business circles, and has even penetrated into the Nanjong City government. Only the Martial Security Agency is directly under the World Joint Government military. Whether it is financial allocation or talent selection, it can directly bypass the local government, and it is difficult for Hongmen to penetrate and corrupt it. Therefore, the current Martial Security Agency has long become Hongmen's biggest enemy. And Hongmen sect master Lin Zhenan will naturally not allow the power of the Martial Security Agency to continue to develop and grow in Nanjong City. Martial artists still respect strength in the end. Since Zhang Yunliang wants us to die so much, then let's have a fight and see who lives and who dies. After speaking, Pang Long glanced around, and his mountain-like body stood up, his voice like a resounding bell echoing in the hall. Go back and prepare. This time, we must break the bones of the Martial Security Agency. The situation in Yukon District is quietly changing. And Jiang Heng was feasting downstairs in the restaurant at this time. Although ordinary food is now difficult to meet his current nutritional needs, the pleasure of eating cannot be lost after all. At this time, the phone screen suddenly lit up. Team Leader Jiang, the 41,500 merit points you previously obtained in the 2 operations of apprehending smugglers and destroying the Red Frill Bar have been approved. Please go to the Internal Affairs section to collect them. Jiang Heng's eyes suddenly lit up. After waiting for so long, the merit points for these 2 tasks have finally arrived. Including these merits, his accumulated merits have exceeded 50,000, enough for him to be promoted to the level of detachment leader and obtain the Tier 3 candleflame breathing technique. Moreover, after obtaining these merits, Jiang Heng's existing merit points have exceeded 45,000. Enough to purchase the Diamond series of professional martial arts, 3 forms of the crippled ape, in the Martial Security Agency Mall. Jiang Heng thought of this, and a few traces of eagerness rose in his heart. He raised his head and swallowed all the hot mutton soup in the pot in one gulp, then got up and strode away, heading to the Martial Security Agency. P.S. I just received a notice from the editor that it will be on the shelves at 12 noon tomorrow. Although I have no manuscript saved and I haven't written the listing testimonials yet, I think if I stay up all night tonight, I should be able to write 10,000 words before it goes on the shelves tomorrow. Thank you to all the readers for your support. Please give me your first order ors. Chapter 67 Level 3 Breathing Method. A moment later, in front of the Internal Affairs Office of the Wuhan Bureau in Yukon District. Knock, knock, knock. Jiang Heng knocked on the office door. Come in. Jiang Heng pushed the door open and entered. Liao Junwei was sitting behind his desk and looked up at Jiang Heng. Team Leader Jiang is here. I'll go ahead and. Liao Junwei lowered his head, preparing to approve Jiang Heng's merits, but then he felt something was wrong. He paused slightly, then looked up again, staring at Jiang Heng in astonishment. You're level 3 now. Jiang Heng nodded slightly. Good luck, I broke through. Quote. Liao Junwei was speechless for a moment. He vaguely remembered that when Jiang Heng broke through to body refinement level 2 months ago, he said the same thing. It seems you're going to be promoted to branch captain level, your accumulated merits should be almost 50,000, right? Liao Junwei asked casually, then checked Jiang Heng's information on the computer. Jiang Heng nodded. Yes, adding this time's merits will be enough for promotion. Okay, I'll transfer the merit points to you now. Liao Junwei then operated on the computer for a while, transferring a total of 41,500 merit points to Jiang Heng. Jiang Heng took out his phone and looked down at the account on his screen. Merit points, 46,250. Accumulated merit points, 89,850. This time's merit points, plus the 6,000 merit points he hadn't used up before, totaled 46,250 merits. In the Wuhan Bureau's mall, common professional grade martial arts generally cost about 20,000 to 30,000 merit points. Even the Vajra series, 3 styles of the crippled ape, only requires 36,000 merit points. Jiang Heng nodded and said, Section Chief Liao, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Okay, go ahead and get busy. Liao Junwei watched Jiang Heng's departing figure, feeling a sense of melancholy in his heart. 8 years ago, he was the leader of the 5th group of the 1st branch, about to break through to body refinement level 3 and be promoted to branch captain level. But due to injuries, he had to retreat to the 2nd line and eventually became the section chief of the Internal Affairs Department. Now, watching Jiang Heng break through to body refinement level 3, he seemed to see his younger self, with unfulfilled aspirations. New talents always surpass the old. Liao Junwei shook his head, dispelling the memories in his heart. Aspirations are, after all, just aspirations. In fact, retreating to the 2nd line isn't bad. At least it's safe and stable, without having to risk his life on the front lines. Over the years, he had seen too many Wuhan Bureau members who fought desperately on the front lines, ending up with broken hands and feet, or even losing their lives. He had long since lost his original aspirations. Moreover, recently, the atmosphere between the Bureau and the Hongmen in Yukon District has become increasingly tense. The Hongmen has been rooted in Yukon District for 50 years, and its internal members are strong. Once a conflict really breaks out, who knows how many people will die. Liao Junwei put away his thoughts and refocused his attention on the computer in front of him, continuing his work. Jiang Heng walked out of the Internal Affairs office and went to the director's office on the top floor. Director. Jiang Heng walked into the office, his body refinement level 3 aura unmistakable. Little Jiang, you broke through. A look of astonishment appeared on Zhang Yunliang's face. Jiang Heng nodded. Yes, I broke through with some luck, and I just received the merits for the previous 2 missions. My accumulated merits exceed 50,000, so. Zhang Yunliang came back to his senses. Yes, no problem, I'll help you apply to the General Bureau to establish a team later. Okay, thank you, Director. It's nothing. I didn't expect you to break through to body refinement level 3 so quickly. A hint of regret suddenly appeared on Zhang Yunliang's face. Ah, if I had known you were so talented, I shouldn't have been so eager to attack the Yukon district hongmen. Jiang Heng paused slightly. What does this mean? Zhang Yunliang patted Jiang Heng's shoulder and said with a smile, you're so talented, you might be able to break through to body refinement level 4 in a few years. By then, you can directly lead a team to crush Pang Long to death. Why would I need to waste so much effort? Jiang Heng was slightly dumbfounded. Director Zhang was thinking a bit too far ahead. But a few years, he shouldn't need that long. At this moment, Zhang Yunliang suddenly remembered something and frowned. By the way, there's one more thing. These past 2 days, the Bureau has completely cleared out the Hongmen forces in southwestern Yukon. It seems that Pang Long has already made some moves. You've only just stepped into body refinement level 3, and you killed a Hongmen Red Pole before, so they might be targeting you. You need to be careful. It's best to move into the Wuhan Bureau to live for safety. Jiang Heng's eyes narrowed slightly, and he nodded slowly. Don't worry, Director, I'll be careful. The newest and most complete novels are at Luju Shu Ba, first published. The Hongmen is about to make a move. Well, that's it for now. You can go find Bai Yang to learn the level 3 breathing technique first. Okay. Jiang Heng nodded immediately. The main reason he was so eager to be promoted to branch captain level was to obtain the level 3 breathing technique. The level 3 breathing technique will greatly change a martial artist's fighting style. Jiang Heng bid farewell and left the director's office. Then, he contacted the reserve team captain, Bai Yang, and went to the armory to learn the level 3 candle flame breathing technique. Inside the armory, Bai Yang took out a dark red injection from a metal cabinet and injected it into Jiang Heng's arm vein. He calmly explained to Jiang Heng, the biggest difference between the level 3 breathing technique and the level 2 breathing technique is that it can integrate the special aura between heaven and earth into your own chi sensation. Jiang Heng nodded slightly. He had heard of this before. It is rumored that these auras in the world come from behind the heavenly gate and arrive on earth after the heavenly gate is opened. Martial artists at body refinement level 1 and body refinement level 2 can only use these auras to stimulate and strengthen their own selves. From body refinement level 3 onwards, they can combine their own chi sensation with the special aura guided by the breathing technique to exert various special effects. For example, the Hongmen Stone Buddha Pang Long, the reason why he has the nickname, Stone Buddha. It is because his chi sensation can combine with stone breath to strengthen the skin of his whole body into a rock-like form, which is difficult to penetrate even with artillery shells. And the candle flame series of breathing techniques also has a similar effect. The third order burning blood not only makes the blood in the body boil, but also makes the chi sensation in the body combine with the flame breath, erupting with a power like a raging flame. Bai Yang finished the injection and put the syringe into the recycling bin. He wasn't too surprised that Jiang Heng was able to break through to body refinement level 3 in such a short period of time, only feeling numb. In fact, since Bai Yang saw Jiang Heng buying 2 bottles of Scarlet Flame Golden Body Paste in just half a month. Jiang Heng thought for a while and asked, Captain Bai, are there any other things in the Wuhan Bureau's mall that can improve the cultivation speed of the candle flame breathing technique? With Jiang Heng's continuous cultivation over the past few months, his resistance to ordinary candle flame disease has become very high. In addition, he has now broken through to body refinement level 3. It is probably very difficult to rely on pure cultivation to make himself infected with severe candle flame disease. Bai Yang was speechless. Even the Scarlet Flame Golden Body Paste isn't enough for you, is it? He thought for a while and said, there are some, but they are not cheap. Chapter 68 Dragon Scale Flame Ointment. Inside the armory. Jiang Heng was slightly stunned when he heard Bai Yang's words and asked in confusion, how expensive is it? Bai Yang smiled, took out his phone, opened the mall, and clicked on the search bar to search for products. Then he showed the phone screen to Jiang Heng. Dragon Scale Ember Paste, a special ointment made from creatures within the Heavenly Gate, which can assist in improving the cultivation efficiency of flame breath techniques. How to use: take 1 gram and take it internally with warm water. Precautions: martial artists below level 5 of the physical body are prohibited from taking more than 3 grams at a time, otherwise it will cause life-threatening danger. Price: 1 bottle 100 grams 30,000 merit points. Purchase restriction: Sergeant rank. After Jiang Heng finished reading the text on the screen, he was subconsciously stunned. So expensive. Crimson Flame Golden Body Paste only costs 10,000 merit points per 100 grams. This Dragon Scale Ember Paste actually costs 30,000 merit points per bottle. Bai Yong felt a burst of relief when he saw the astonishment on Jiang Heng's face. I knew it. How could anyone's cultivation process be completely smooth sailing? No matter how talented you are, you still have to lack money when it's time to lack it. Bai Yong said with a smile, didn't you see the precautions for this thing? This kind of Dragon Scale Ember Paste is not for martial artists like you who are at the 3rd level of the physical body. Even martial artists at the 4th level of the physical body will find it a bit difficult to withstand this medicinal power. It is mainly for martial artists at the 5th level of the physical body. Jiang Heng was slightly speechless. A paste mainly for martial artists at the 5th level of the physical body, no wonder it's so expensive. The effect should be very good, right? He thought about it and felt that it was still worth it. On the one hand, it can improve the physical body level, and on the other hand, it can also improve the proficiency of the 3rd level candle flame breathing technique. The proficiency of the candle flame breathing technique must be increased to at least 10% or more to be able to use the 3rd order burning blood to combine one's own chi sensation and flame breath. Bai Yong was slightly stunned. Where did you get 30,000 merit points? Jiang Heng gave him a strange look. I just killed a red pole from Hongmen a few days ago. Bai Yong twitched the corner of his mouth. He had forgotten about this. Okay, you have money. Jiang Heng smiled. My rank will only reach sergeant in a few days, so I'll have to trouble Captain Bai to buy it for me. Bai Yong glanced at him. Why should I? Jiang Heng was speechless for a moment. Bai Yong's eyes turned, and he smiled slyly. I remember you don't have a girlfriend yet, right? I have a niece who is 16 years old this year. Although she is only in high school, she is very beautiful. If you become friends with her, I will help you buy it. Jiang Heng looked at Bai Yong speechlessly. A 16-year-old high school student, that's a minor, it's illegal. Bai Yong snorted coldly. I'm just asking you to be friends, not to fall in love. You can wait 2 more years if you want. Quote, comma. Being friends is naturally just a joke. Moreover, martial artists and ordinary people are not suitable. The physical difference between the two is like a stone and an egg. A little carelessness can crush people. Jiang Heng transferred 30,000 merit points to Bai Yong and asked him to help purchase a bottle of Dragon Scale Ember Paste, which would take about 1 to 2 days to arrive. Afterwards, he left the armory and drove back to the Chongming Street garrison. At this time, the cultivation method and teaching video of the 3rd level candle flame breathing technique had already been sent to his account. Jiang Heng watched it repeatedly. Compared with the 2nd level, the 3rd level breathing technique is several times more complex. It is no longer just about using simple breathing frequency and the 5 hearts to the sky method to guide external flame breath into the body, but to guide flame breath to deeply activate the body's cells. Jiang Heng began to try to cultivate. Until 3 hours later, the sky outside the window was getting dark, and he opened the panel and glanced at it. Physical body level, 3.01. Technique, Candle Flame Series 3rd level breathing technique, proficiency 0.1%. Current status, mild candle flame disease, mild biological myasthenia syndrome. The candle flame disease has only been upgraded from mild to light, which can only be said to be better than nothing. As expected, I still need some strong medicine to assist. Jiang Heng shook his head, then opened the Wuhan Bureau's internal mall on his phone, and scratched his hair with some headache. Tisk, merit points are really not enough. He thought that the 40,000 merit points he had just obtained were already a lot. As a result, he didn't expect to spend 30,000 points in one go. Now he only has 16,000 merit points left. In the Wuhan Bureau's internal mall, a common professional level martial art on the market costs 20,000 to 30,000 merit points. The Vajra series, 3 forms of the crippled ape, costs 39,000 merit points. I can't afford it at all. Jiang Heng shook his head and fell into deep thought for a while. The newest and fastest novels are at 69shu.com. However, according to the director, Hongman is afraid that it will not be quiet for the next period of time. There should still be opportunities to obtain merit points. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, the dragon scale ember paste was sent from the General Bureau's warehouse to the branch bureau's armory. At this time, Bai Yong's face was a bit more serious. I'm reminding you in advance that the medicinal properties of this ointment are 10 times stronger than the Crimson Flame Golden Body Paste. If a level 4 physical body takes more than the dose, it will easily cause problems. Don't rely on your special physique and think that you can just stuff this thing into your mouth casually. You must be cautious. While speaking, he handed the metal safe to Jiang Heng. If you ruin yourself, I will really have to introduce my niece to you. Jiang Heng's mouth twitched slightly. He was now beginning to doubt whether Bai Yong's niece was really as good looking as he said. He took the metal safe, then said goodbye and left the Wuhan bureau, returned to the Chongming Street garrison, and entered the password to open it. Inside was a bottle of translucent ointment in a special glass shell, with a viscous ointment flowing inside like flowing fire. Even through a layer of glass, Jiang Heng seemed to be able to feel the heat contained in the ointment. This is the dragon scale ember paste for level 5, I hope the effect won't disappoint me. He opened the sealed mouth of the medicine bottle, poured out 5 grams, mixed it with warm water, and took it into his mouth. In an instant, scorching heat exploded in his stomach, and the huge medicinal power spread to his limbs and bones in an instant. The temperature in his body rose rapidly, reaching 50 to 60 degrees in the blink of an eye. What a fierce medicinal power! Jiang Heng's eyes lit up slightly, and he immediately sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice the third-level candle flame breathing technique. The invisible flame breath between heaven and earth was introduced into his body in large quantities, rapidly eroding Jiang Heng's body cells. The intense pain, as if being burned by a raging fire, spread throughout his body. 4 hours later, the fierce wandering medicinal power in his body gradually subsided, and Jiang Heng opened his eyes somewhat numbly. At this moment, he could hardly feel the existence of his body, as if it were a piece of dead wood that had been completely roasted into charcoal. If he hadn't gone through many trials and tribulations and now had a firm will, and constantly paid attention to the state on his panel, and made subtle adjustments through the power of disease erosion, otherwise he might have fainted on the spot. Once he fell into a coma and could not activate the disease erosion, then there would really be a life-threatening danger. He glanced at the state on the panel. Current status: moderate to severe flame breath syndrome, mild biological myasthenia syndrome. The candle flame disease has directly transformed into flame breath syndrome. This extremely weak state was indeed a bit unbearable. Jiang Heng's mind moved. Disease erosion, conversion. The gentle and mysterious power of disease erosion quickly poured into Jiang Heng's body, clearing the residual flame breath and lesions in his body, and quickly feeding back and repairing his body. After a few breaths, Jiang Heng's shriveled and weakened body became full again, and the majestic vitality returned to his body again. Physical body level: 3.01 right pointing arrow 3.05. Technique: Candle Flame Series 3rd Level Breathing Technique, Proficiency 6.5%. Chapter 69 Promotion. Jiang Heng's gaze swept across the data on the panel, a faint hint of joy appearing on his face. His physical body level had been raised by 0.04 in one go, and the proficiency of the 3rd level candle flame breathing technique had also directly increased to 6.5%. At this rate, by the time he finished using this bottle of dragon scale flame ointment, he would at least be able to raise his physical body level to the late 3rd level. As for the proficiency of the candle flame breathing technique, in just one more day, he would be able to enter the basics and master the 3rd stage burning blood. As expected of an ointment used by 5th level physical bodies, it really is a good thing. Jiang Heng stood up, feeling the emptiness in his stomach. He then took out a few bottles of high-energy nutrient solution from the refrigerator and poured them into his mouth. In the following days, Jiang Heng participated in the Martial Security Agency's cleanup missions during the day and used dragon scale flame ointment to assist his cultivation at night. Both his physical body level and the proficiency of the candle flame breathing technique were steadily improving, and his strength was increasing step by step. Zhang Yunliang held a promotion ceremony for him in the Martial Security Agency's conference hall. An 18-year-old team leader was unprecedented, at least in Nanjing City. The reserve team members who had been in the same class as Jiang Heng a few months ago now looked at Jiang Heng with extremely complex emotions. Who would have thought that a few months ago, they were still teammates who had come out of the reserve team together, but in just a few months, he had transformed into the team leader of the Martial Security Agency. After the ceremony, Duan Zhenyu congratulated him with a wry smile, while Lu Zehai's eyes were dark. Lu Zehai had been cultivating with all his strength during this time and had a premonition that he would soon break through to the third level of physical body. But before he could break through, the news of Jiang Heng's promotion to the team leader level came from the bureau. A group of veteran team members in the Martial Security Agency felt rather subtle emotions in their hearts when they learned that a young man who had just turned 18 had become their immediate superior. Being able to be promoted to the team leader level at the age of 18 was simply unimaginable in terms of what level he could reach in the future. After the ceremony, Jiang Heng was quickly surrounded by various praises, requests for guidance and support, attempts to build relationships and invitations to dinner, and even some who saw that he was young and planned to introduce him to potential partners. It was not until Director Zhang Yunliang approached that the group of veteran Martial Security Agency team members surrounding Jiang Heng dispersed. It seems that team leader Jiang is very popular. Should I also introduce you to someone? Zhang Yunliang smiled and patted Jiang Heng on the shoulder. Jiang Heng smiled wryly. Director is joking. Zhang Yunliang shook his head. I'm not really joking, I have a niece. Jiang Heng's mouth twitched. How come you also have a niece? Could it be the same one as Captain Bai's? Zhang Yunliang continued. She is a graduate of Tiandu University's martial arts program, 3.5 years older than you, and used to be apprenticed to an old martial arts master, so she can be considered a successor of old martial arts. She is now a review officer in the Provincial Martial Security Hall, with the strength of a 4th level physical body, and it is only a matter of time before she enters the 5th level. With this kind of talent and strength, she should be a good match for you, shouldn't she? Jiang Heng was slightly stunned. This didn't sound like a joke. This was someone with real strength, but why did it sound so familiar? He thought for a while and asked, is the one you're talking about named Qingluan? Zhang Yunliang was stunned and turned his head in surprise. You know her? Jiang Heng nodded. Professor Li Minglang from the headquarters helped me apply for a Dao seed fragment before, and she was the deputy review officer who came to review and assess me. Oh, it's good that you know her. How about it, would you like me to introduce you to her in a few days? Jiang Heng was speechless. Director, please stop joking. She is a proud daughter of Tiandu University, how could she possibly like me? Moreover, I don't have any interest in this kind of thing at the moment. He had only just entered the 3rd level of physical body. Finding a female martial artist at the peak of the 4th level as a girlfriend would mean getting beaten up even during arguments. Zhang Yunliang said, that's not necessarily true. She has been looking for traces of Senior Yuan Jinggang in Nanjiang City recently, so you can really get in touch. Jiang Heng's heart moved. Senior Yuan Jinggang. He's in Nanjiang City. This was the founder of the Vajra series of martial arts, a true powerhouse who has lived for hundreds of years. Zhang Yunliang shook his head, not sure. Legend has it that Senior Yuan returns to Nanjiang City every 10 years to worship his ancestors and, by the way, give guidance to some Nanjiang juniors in martial arts. Not only Qingluan, but also many talented martial artists of the 4th level of physical body are looking for him. Legend has it that Senior Yuan is a martial artist above the 8th level of physical body. Even if they can't become his disciples, even just getting a few words of guidance from him would be endlessly beneficial. Jiang Heng nodded thoughtfully, so that's what's going on. If he could get his guidance in the Vajra series of martial arts that he was practicing, he would probably be able to complete the last top-level martial art, and even have the opportunity to go to the next level. However, this kind of thing was somewhat illusory. Who could know the whereabouts of such a powerhouse? After Zhang Yunliang finished talking about this matter, he began to talk about business. I was originally considering drawing some team members from the bureau for your team building. Then apply to the headquarters and draw some from the military or other regional martial security agencies. But now it may need to be postponed. Zhang Yunliang frowned slightly and continued. Peng Long invited Lin Zhenan, and united with several government councillors and enterprises to put pressure, accusing the Yukon District Martial Security Agency of violent law enforcement and harming the interests of ordinary businessmen. Jiang Heng wondered, this doesn't seem to have much effect. The Martial Security Agency's finances, including the merit value system and the armory resources, are directly connected to the Tiandu Military Department, bypassing the local government. A few accusations are simply irrelevant to the Martial Security Agency. Lin Zhenan is indicating that he will fully support Peng Long. Zhang Yunliang shook his head. In the headquarters, intention is to limit the war to Yukon District, and neither side will send people to support anymore. Otherwise, once a full-scale war breaks out, the Martial Security Agency and the Hongmen will send a large number of people into Yukon District. The entire Yukon District will become a meat grinder, and even involve other innocent people. Zhang Yunliang paused and continued, the headquarters asked me for my opinion this morning. If I am confident, I can try to fight a battle. If I am not very confident, the current suggestion is to maintain the status quo and suspend the removal of Hongmen forces. After speaking, he turned to look at Jiang Heng. What do you think? Jiang Heng was slightly stunned, and then subconsciously said, my suggestion is to fight, kill them all with one blow, so that there is no possibility of a comeback. Where would the merit points come from if they didn't fight? He was still short of 20,000 merit points to buy the 3 remnant ape forms. Not bad, that's what I think too, and now that we have you, a 3rd level physical body, our chances of winning have greatly increased. As he spoke, Zhang Yunliang's eyes gradually sharpened. Then let's fight, kill them first. Chapter 70, Take Action. The next day, 9 in the morning. Zhang Yunliang once again summoned all members of the Martial Security Bureau, no longer acting as individual groups, but as units of 2 groups, acting jointly, supplemented by the investigative methods of the police department. Starting from the southwest of Yukon District, which had already been cleared, they concentrated their efforts to sweep outwards in a net-like manner to eliminate the Hongmen forces. The 4 branch captains within the bureau, including Jiang Heng and Duan Zhenyu, as well as Huo Jiang and Wang Siheng, the branch captains of the 1st and 2nd teams, were stationed in the center, focusing on guarding against the appearance of several Hongmen red poles at the 3rd level of physical bodies, as well as Shi Fo Peng Long. In just one afternoon, the results were remarkable. A large number of industries under the Hongmen banner were swept away in the west of Yukon District, and dozens of Hongmen warriors were injured or killed. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. On a street in the west of Yukon District, Jiang Heng was sitting in a military off-road vehicle at this moment, and the screen in front of him showed the advancement of several martial security groups nearby. Once an unexpected situation occurred, such as a Hongmen red pole at the 3rd level of physical bodies appearing near a certain group, he would immediately set off to provide support. However, the 6 martial security groups he dispatched this afternoon were relatively smooth, and there were no major problems. According to the information Jiang Heng currently had. In addition to Shi Fo Peng Long, Hongmen in Yukon District also had 3 red poles at the 3rd level of physical bodies, namely Tai Gui Zhao Shan, Shui Yu Mo Saniang, and Yuying Ding Yan. Yuying Ding Yan had the longest qualifications, even longer than Shi Fo Peng Long's time in Hongmen, and his strength was also the strongest among the 3, most likely at the late stage of the 3rd level. As for Tai Gui Zhao Shan and Shui Yu Mo Saniang, their strength was relatively weaker. With Jiang Heng's current strength, he should be able to stop one of them for a period of time, supporting until the other branch captains arrived. Thinking of this, he moved his mind and opened his panel to take a look. In just 3 days, the physical body level has been increased to 3.16, and the proficiency of the candlelight breathing method has also been increased to 25%. The effect of dragon scale flame fire paste is indeed good, it is indeed a supplementary ointment used by 5th level warriors. Emergency notification, Teams 3 and 4 of the 2nd branch encountered an ambush by 2 Hongmen warriors at the 3rd level of physical bodies on Yunjiang Road, please all branch captains go immediately. Emergency notification, Teams 3 and 4 of the 2nd branch. A rapid voice came from the vehicle-mounted communicator. Jiang Heng frowned and immediately got out of the car and ran wildly in the direction of Yunjiang Road. Yunjiang Road was not within his current control range, but was on the western border of Yukon District, 10 kilometers away from him. When Jiang Heng arrived, Yunjiang Road was already in a mess, with blood splattered everywhere. The leader of the 3rd team of the 2nd branch had both legs broken, lying on the ground gritting his teeth with cold sweat, and the Martial Security Bureau members who rushed over were bandaging his wounds. The leader of the 4th team fell in a pool of blood, with several terrifying blood holes on his body, his life or death unknown, and was receiving first aid. Many of the Martial Security Bureau members of these 2 teams were also injured, with blood holes penetrating their bodies. At this time, Duan Zhenyu and Wang Siheng had arrived at the scene with gloomy faces. What's the situation? Jiang Heng stepped forward. Duan Zhenyu said, Hongmen's Mo Saniang and Ding Yan suddenly joined forces and attacked the 2nd team, and then left before we arrived. Jiang Heng's eyes swept over the injured on the ground. The injuries of the 3rd team leader should have been caused by Yuying Ding Yan. It is rumored that this person is good at using a special alloy short knife, coming and going without a trace. As for the blood holes on the 4th team leader and other team members, they should have been caused by Shui Yu Mo Saniang. Soon, Zhang Yunliang also arrived at the scene, and several ambulances carried the wounded up for treatment. Zhang Yunliang's face was gloomy, and he slowly said, "It seems that the net is still too wide. From now on, tighten the formation and focus on conquering the core forces of Hongmen. During this period, all team members will move to the Martial Security Bureau and the garrison room to live. Those who have family members in Yukon district should also move over to live together, and we must not give these guys any chance." Until night fell, the Martial Security Bureau ended today's operations. The Martial Security Bureau members quickly began to pack their luggage and move to the Martial Security Bureau and the garrison room to live. Although the tragic situation of the second branch during the day was a bit frightening, the members of the Martial Security Bureau were not unfamiliar with blood, and their mentality was still quite resilient. More importantly, they knew that once this operation was successful, they would be able to obtain a large amount of merit, and their strength would be able to take off as a whole. Moreover, their relatives and friends in Yukon district would no longer have to worry about the threat of Hongmen. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Jiang Heng drove away from the Martial Security Bureau and returned to the Chongming Street garrison room. He also planned to temporarily move to the garrison room closer to the Martial Security Bureau. Chongming Street was too remote. Once it was besieged, it would take at least 20 minutes for support to arrive. By that time, the day lily would already be cold. The most uptack new uptack small uptack say uptack is uptack at uptack 6 uptack 9 uptack book uptack bar uptack first uptack hair. Suddenly, his eyes paused and he looked towards the street corner not far away. Under a street lamp, a tall figure was standing, and the cigarette in his mouth flickered in the darkness. Seeming to notice Jiang Heng's gaze, the tall figure took a deep breath of the cigarette and slowly looked at Jiang Heng. "Are you Jiang Heng?" "It's me, who are you?" The tall figure smiled and walked out of the darkness. Zhao Shan. Taigui Zhao Shan was covered in close-fitting iron armor, especially his fists were wrapped in special alloy, and several titanium nails on the fist peaks showed their sharpness like fangs. Today, 3 Hongmen red poles at the third level of physical bodies were dispatched collectively, intending to counterattack the Martial Security Bureau. Yuying Ding Yan and Shuiyu Mo Sanyang's idea was to gradually erode and consume the living forces of the Martial Security Bureau. Jiang Heng nodded slightly when he heard this. "I was still thinking, since Mo Sanyang and Ding Yan have appeared, then who will the remaining Zhao Shan deal with? I didn't expect you to come looking for me." "That's right, I've been waiting for you all night." Taigui Zhao Shan extinguished the cigarette in his hand and smiled. "The bottle of solution in Lu Yuheng's hand was taken away by you, right? And you also took this bottle of solution, so you were able to break through to the third level of physical bodies so quickly, right?" Jiang Heng raised his eyebrows slightly, somewhat puzzled. Seeing that Jiang Heng did not deny it, Taigui Zhao Shan's mouth gradually cracked open, and he smiled sarcastically. "But you didn't expect that this bottle of solution would have such huge side effects. Even if you break through to the third level of physical bodies, the bone-eroding virus will erode your entire skeleton. You can't exert even half of your strength, and even if you exert too much force, your bones may break." Zhao Shan shook his head as if sighing, with a playful look on his face. A martial arts genius who broke through to the peak of the second level at the age of 18 was ruined by a mere bottle of potion. Who can you beat in this situation? The so-called captain of the fourth branch of the Martial Security Bureau is just a false name. Jiang Heng stood calmly on the spot, unable to help but chuckle. "Idiot." In the next moment, his figure sank, and the third-level burning blood was activated. Flame breath poured into his body, the blood in his body boiled, accompanied by a crackling sound, and his body suddenly grew 3 inches taller. A hot and extremely oppressive aura enveloped his body, like a fierce god descending into the world. Chapter 71 Blast. In front of the Chongming Street garrison office. Jiang Heng's entire body was like an iron tower. After erupting with the third-order blood ignition, his body was even taller than Zhao Shan's. The majestic qi energy condensed from the biological energy in his body fused with the flame breath, as if scarlet flames were burning on his body. This was the effect of the third-order blood ignition. The situation seemed a bit different from what he had imagined. The reason he came to find trouble with Jiang Heng was because he judged that Jiang Heng had most likely taken the bone-corroding potion. His true strength definitely hadn't reached the third level of body refinement. As long as he killed him, he, Iron Ghost Zhao Shan, would be the first to contribute in this operation against the Martial Security Bureau. He had the least seniority and the lowest strength in the Hongmen, so only by making great contributions could he climb up quickly. According to his deduction, Jiang Heng should choose to stall for time and desperately escape, waiting for others to rescue him, after being exposed. But the current situation was a bluff. Or was it that he hadn't taken the bone-corroding poison potion at all? Impossible. Iron Ghost Zhao Shan quickly rejected this conclusion in his heart. No matter how high his talent, it was impossible for him to reach the third level of body refinement through his own cultivation at the age of 18. There shouldn't be such a precedent in the entire Nanjiang city. Then it was a bluff. Boom. Jiang Heng took a step forward, smashing the ground with his foot, and suddenly charged towards him. Zhao Shan's eyes sharpened. I'll see how much strength you really have. Then, the majestic qi energy in his body attached to the metal all over him, and he met Jiang Heng head-on. Ghost Iron Body, Death Knell Repetition. The special alloy on the fist peak merged with the qi energy, becoming incomparably hard, and rippled circles of air in midair, crashing down on Jiang Heng. Then, Jiang Heng's expression was calm, and his forward figure suddenly took half a step back. After his body refinement level was raised to 3.16, his nerve reaction speed had already been raised to the late third level. He could clearly see every move of Zhao Shan. In addition, Zhao Shan was wearing a special alloy armor, which made him even more bulky. Zhao Shan's attack missed. Jiang Heng stretched out his elbow and horizontally cut Zhao Shan's neck, his elbow like a knife, instantly smashing the alloy armor around Zhao Shan's neck, causing Zhao Shan's face to turn green. His left leg was tightened like a bowstring and then leapt high, and the majestic qi energy poured into his right knee, like a mountain torrent erupting, crashing into Zhao Shan's face. 8 Arms Fist, Rakshasa 3 knocks. The majestic force instantly shattered Zhao Shan's nose bridge, his head tilted back, and he flew out. Before he landed, Jiang Heng took 3 steps forward, his foot strength repeating 9 times. The qi energy and strength of his entire body converged to the peak, running through his right arm, and the terrifying palm power was like the Milky Way falling from the 9 heavens, crashing down on Zhao Shan's abdomen. White Ape 4th Form, Suspended Waterfall 9 repetitions. The scarlet qi wave rolled over, Zhao Shan's eyes bulged, the armor on his abdomen shattered again, and his figure flying upside down in midair fell to the ground like a cannonball. Boom! The brand new stone slab ground on Chongming Street, which had just been paved not long ago, suddenly cracked like a spider web. Intense pain came from all parts of Zhao Shan's body, and he was stunned in his heart. Why? Why was he still so strong after taking the bone-corroding virus potion? No, even if he hadn't taken the bone-corroding virus potion and had broken through to the third level of body refinement through his own cultivation, he shouldn't be so strong. Jiang Heng, who was about to use the White Ape 6th Form, Ape King Suppresses the Peak, suddenly changed his move at this time. The tall and sturdy figure nimbly retreated half a step, suddenly leaned over and supported the ground with his right hand, and his left leg kicked towards Zhao Shan's jaw like a scorpion tail hook. The fierce left leg like a snake and scorpion passed through Zhao Shan's arms, and heavily drew on his jaw. Jiang Heng flipped over and leapt up in one step, his knees slightly bent like an ape climbing a branch, his arms bent at the elbows to protect his ribs, his shoulder blades opened like wings, and his fists were like 2 mountains, crashing down. White Ape 6th Form, Ape King Suppresses the Peak. His fists completely shattered Zhao Shan's special alloy armor that was strengthened by qi energy, and more than 10 tons of force poured into his abdomen, instantly shattering his flesh. Jiang Heng constantly used the White Ape 6 Forms and the 8 Arms Fist, pouring his qi and strength on Zhao Shan's body. Zhao Shan wanted to try to fight back, but he couldn't even touch the corner of Jiang Heng's clothes. Jiang Heng had already cultivated these 2 advanced martial arts to perfection, and his understanding of martial arts had far surpassed ordinary martial artists. At this moment, any combination of the White Ape 6 Forms and the 8 Arms Fist seemed extremely smooth, without any stagnation. Crack! Qingya Hanging Seal broke Zhao Shan's right arm, Ape King Suppressing the Peak shattered his dantian, and Tiger Tooth Shattering Skull smashed his facial bones. The latest and most complete novels are available on 69shu.com. And the surrounding streets were also shattered by Jiang Heng's violent output. The residents living nearby hurriedly ran out of their homes, away from this place, for fear that a piece of gravel would splash over and take their lives. After a dozen breaths, Zhao Shan's body at this moment was almost turned into a pool of mud, deeply sunken 3 feet below the street ground, and blood gathered into a pool of blood underneath. His shattered eyes had completely lost their luster. He didn't understand until his death why Jiang Heng could have such combat power just after entering the third level of body refinement. Huff! Jiang Heng stood up from the big pit on the ground, calmed the boiling blood in his body, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. He's really durable. Although Zhao Shan's reaction was not good, he was indeed resistant to beatings. According to the information Jiang Heng had obtained, Zhao Shan cultivated the Zhengjin devouring iron breathing technique, which could integrate the Zhengjin qi into his own qi energy and attach it to the alloy armor on the surface of his body. The professional level martial art, Ghost Iron Body, he learned was also a martial art that mainly focused on his own body's resistance. His defensive ability was comparable to that of a late-stage third-level martial artist, which was why he was called Iron Ghost. Of course, the reason why it was so difficult to fight was largely because Jiang Heng lacked professional-level martial arts and his lethality was insufficient. It's still a bit too difficult to deal with a third-level body refinement martial artist with professional-level martial arts using only advanced martial arts. Jiang Heng patted the dust off his body, and a hint of vigilance rose in his heart. Fortunately, it was Iron Ghost Zhao Shan who came back. My nerve reaction speed naturally restrains him. If it was Blood Rain Mo Sanyang or Ghost Shadow Ding Yan who came this time, I'm afraid it wouldn't be so simple. Well, I still have to learn the 3 remnant ape forms, as soon as possible. He lowered his head and glanced at the corpse of Zhao Shan in the big pit in front of him, and calculated slightly. A Hongmen red pole at the 3rd level of body refinement can give the Bureau at least 20,000 merit points, plus the merit points I had left. It should be enough to buy the 3 remnant ape forms. Send a few people to Chongming Street. I just killed a Hongmen 3rd level red pole. Chapter 72, The 3 Moves of the Remnant Ape. Yuquan District, Wuhan Bureau. At this moment, the atmosphere in the meeting room was somewhat Xianmen. Zhang Yunliang, Duan Zhenyu, and a dozen other Wuhan Bureau team leaders were gathered here. Zhang Yunliang's face was gloomy, and the other Wuhan Bureau team leaders didn't look much better. News had already come from the 2 Wuhan Bureau team leaders who were sent to the hospital this afternoon. Pan Hongshuan, the leader of the 3rd team of the 2nd detachment, had both legs broken off below the knees, and the wounds were infected with nerve toxins. The broken legs could not be reattached, and he would be disabled for life. Zhang Lisong, the leader of the 4th team of the 2nd detachment, had multiple organs pierced by Shuiyu Mo Sanyang's hidden weapon, the blood drop. He was currently in emergency care and undergoing surgery. According to the doctors, the success rate of the surgery was not high, and the risk of death was great. Among the other injured team members of these 2 Wuhan teams, 2 team members were directly hit by the blood drop and died. The situation of the remaining few was also very bad. Having suffered such great losses so soon after the operation started, it somewhat dampened everyone's confidence. Director, why don't we fight these grandsons to the death? Let's stop clearing them out little by little. The Hongmen had been rooted in Yuquan district for decades, and there were too many strongholds, making it difficult to find the location of their core members. The young team leader was still somewhat unwilling and asked again. Is there any possibility of setting up a few traps to lure these 3 third-level martial artists of the Hongmen over and kill them? Even if we can only catch one, it would be a huge profit. The Hongmen had a total of 4 third-level martial artists. If they could kill one of them, it would greatly alleviate the current situation and prevent the several third-level martial artists in the Wuhan Bureau from being overwhelmed. As soon as he finished speaking, a middle-aged team leader with considerable experience said. For a time, the atmosphere in the meeting room fell silent again. At this moment, a staff member from the liaison section quickly ran to the door of the meeting room and knocked urgently. The liaison section staff member quickly said, Captain Zhang has encountered a Hongmen 3rd-level martial artist with a physical body. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of everyone present changed. Zhang Yunliang stood up abruptly from his seat. His originally gentle and refined temperament suddenly became incomparably majestic and cold. Even if he was usually gentle, he was still a 3rd-level peak martial artist after all. Once angered, the surrounding pressure was almost suffocating. Where is he? Zhang Yunliang asked in a cold voice. Jiang Heng had only just entered the 3rd level of physical body, and he had only just learned the breathing technique. None of the 3rd-level martial artists in the Hongmen were someone Jiang Heng could deal with. If they went to rescue him now, they might still be in time. The liaison section staff member was so frightened by Zhang Yunliang's aura that his face turned pale for a moment before he reacted and realized that he had not explained clearly. He quickly explained, No, it's that Captain Zhang encountered a 3rd-level red pole of the Hongmen and has now killed him. Zhang Yunliang's expression froze, and the terrifying pressure on his body instantly dissipated. He said in astonishment, Already killed. Who did he kill? The liaison officer shook his head. Team leader Zhang didn't say in detail, but some team members have already gone to Chongming Street to help move the body and should be back soon. The cold atmosphere in the meeting room dissipated, and the Wuhan Bureau team leaders present looked at each other in confusion. Really? Are the Hongmen's third-level martial artists so easy to kill? Could it be a mistake? Our pressure will also be greatly relieved next. As soon as Jiang Heng opened the car door, he saw that the steps in front of the Wuhan Bureau gate were already full of the high-level members of the entire Yukon District Wuhan Bureau. Jiang Heng was slightly stunned. This is. Zhang Yunliang stepped forward, coughed lightly, and asked gently, "Little Zhang, I heard that you killed a third-level martial artist of the Hongmen." Jiang Heng nodded. "Yes, this person ambushed me outside the guard room on Chongming Street, and then I killed him in self-defense." At this time, the car door in the back seat opened, and two Wuhan Bureau team members walked down, carrying a heavy body bag. The two noticed the figures standing on the steps and hurriedly greeted, "Director." Zhang Yunliang nodded. "Yes, put the body down and let me see." "Yes." The two Wuhan Bureau team members opened the zipper of the body bag, revealing a tattered face. Duan Zhenyu, who was standing on the steps, and the other Wuhan Bureau team leaders also gathered around. Although the entire face was beaten to a pulp, it was still possible to identify the identity. "This is Iron Ghost Zhao Shan, right? It really is. Tisk tisk, he's almost been beaten into a pile of Lan Ni." Everyone quickly recognized that the body in the body bag was indeed Iron Ghost Zhao Shan, the southern red pole of the Yukon District Hongmen, a third-level martial artist with a physical body. A hint of joy couldn't help but appear on Zhang Yunliang's face, and he patted Jiang Heng's shoulder forcefully. "Good boy, you're really capable." With the death of Iron Ghost Zhao Shan, the Yukon District Hongmen lost one of its top combat forces, greatly increasing the Wuhan Bureau's chances of winning this battle. Jiang Heng didn't feel much about this. He was more concerned about how much merit he could get for killing Iron Ghost Zhao Shan. After all, this was related to whether he could buy the professional-level martial art, 3 styles of the crippled ape. After this battle with Iron Ghost Zhao Shan tonight, Jiang Heng had indeed felt the difference in power between advanced martial arts and professional-level martial arts. And, Ghost Iron Body, could only be considered middle to upper among the professional-level martial arts. This exaggerated gap made Jiang Heng now want to learn 3 styles of the crippled ape, more than ever. Jiang Heng thought for a while and asked, "Director, how much merit can the Bureau reward for killing this Iron Ghost Zhao Shan?" Zhang Yunliang was slightly stunned, then reacted and said with a smile. "About 20 to 30,000. You want it now, right? Then I'll have the interrogation section calculated for you now." "Okay, thank you, Director." "Thank you for what? This is what you deserve. You've really vented your anger for the Bureau this time." That night, all Wuhan Bureau team members were relocated from all over Yukon District to the Wuhan Bureau and the 16 guard rooms within 5 kilometers of the Wuhan Bureau. Family members were arranged to live in the family building. Within a radius of 10 kilometers, large and small cameras were installed on every street and alley, and people were watching them at all times to ensure that nothing unexpected happened to the Wuhan Bureau team members living inside. The next day, the news that the newly appointed captain of the 4th Detachment, Jiang Heng, had killed Iron Ghost Zhao Shan, the third-level red pole of the Hongmen, spread throughout the entire Wuhan Bureau. This injected a strong dose of encouragement into the originally somewhat low-spirited Martial Security Agency. Early in the morning, Jiang Heng walked out of the Internal Affairs office. Under Zhang Yunliang's instructions, the interrogation department had worked overtime overnight, collecting Zhao Shan's criminal evidence, calculating the merit points for killing Iron Ghost Zhao Shan, and finally transferring the results to the Internal Affairs Department. This allowed him to receive his merit points so quickly. Jiang Heng took a brand new phone from his pocket. Yesterday, his phone screen had been damaged in the battle, so he spent 500 contribution points from the Martial Security Agency store to buy a military phone with a special alloy shell, which would be difficult to damage under normal circumstances. The newest novels are first published on 6_9_shu_ba. Merit points, 40,500. Accumulated merit points, 114,200. Killing Iron Ghost Zhao Shan earned him 24,000 merit points, plus the 16,500 points he had left over, exceeding 40,000 merit points. Enough to purchase the Diamond Series Professional Grade Martial Art, 3 forms of the crippled ape. Jiang Heng switched interfaces, opened the Martial Security Agency's internal store, searched for 3 forms of the crippled ape, and then clicked to purchase. You have purchased the Professional Grade Martial Art, 3 forms of the crippled ape. Please go to the Nanjing City Martial Security Headquarters to learn it within 3 days. Seeing these words, a smile appeared on the corner of Jiang Heng's mouth, and then he glanced at the merit points in his account. At this time, 36,000 points had been deducted from the merit points in the account, leaving only a little over 4,000 points. It really doesn't last long. Jiang Heng shook his head, walked out of the Martial Security Agency gate, and drove to the Martial Security headquarters in the city center. An hour later, Jiang Heng stepped into the Nanjing City Martial Security headquarters, passed through a metal passage, and arrived at Professor Li Minglang's laboratory. Well, as expected, body refinement level 3. As soon as Jiang Heng walked into the laboratory, Li Minglang's eyes were fixed on him, and he nodded after a long while. When the system prompted that you were the branch captain, I was stunned for a moment, and almost suspected it was the same name. He shook his head, turned around and walked towards a metal secret room at the back of the laboratory. Let's go, come with me. Yes. Jiang Heng then followed Li Minglang into the secret room. As Li Minglang operated on the display screen directly opposite, the projection equipment on the 4 walls projected a humanoid projection practicing martial arts. The practice of each move, including the mobilization of muscles and the operation of qi, was clearly visible on the figure. Even with the display of this move, corresponding roars and the sound of air being torn appeared in the secret room, making it seem extremely powerful. On the display screen behind, there was also text teaching of 3 forms of the crippled ape. Li Minglang put his hands behind his back, looked at the humanoid projection in the center of the secret room, and casually asked, "Do you know why this 3 forms of the crippled ape, created by Senior Yuan Jinggong, can become the top professional grade martial art?" Jiang Heng looked at Li Minglang in confusion, and then shook his head. Li Minglang explained, "Because of the 100 years of war, no one knows whether the war will be won, or whether they will survive. Perhaps any small improvement was the last straw to become the winner in the next fight." Li Minglang looked at the figure in front of him repeatedly performing the 3 moves, and said with emotion, 3 forms of the crippled ape was created by Senior Yuan Jinggong under such circumstances. Even if he was sick and in pain, even if he could not exert 50% of his combat power, he still had to desperately squeeze out the last bit of limit from this crippled body. After speaking, Li Minglang smiled and turned to look at Jiang Heng. It's normal for such martial arts to become the top professional grade martial arts, right? Jiang Heng nodded slightly. Listening to Li Minglang's narration, he seemed to be able to see the cruelty of the war 100 years ago, and the strong will of those warriors back then. However, in order to squeeze out every inch of the body's power, this martial art has also become very complicated in Senior Yuan Jinggong's repeated modifications and iterations. Li Minglang gently tapped the humanoid projection in front of him with his chin. Jiang Heng looked at the humanoid projection in front of him, and gradually, red lines like a constant stream of traffic appeared on his body. A bit of astonishment appeared in his eyes. These red lines, like a large net, were actually all qi circulation routes. Generally speaking, the qi circulation routes of basic martial arts are the simplest, with only a single line. Advanced martial arts will be slightly more complicated, extending several qi circulation routes in different parts of the body. Only when multiple lines operate simultaneously to a designated position and explode can the maximum power of the martial art be displayed. As far as Jiang Heng knew, professional grade martial arts required even more qi circulation routes. But in general, it would not exceed 15 at most, and generally only 7 or 8 lines would run simultaneously. Any more than that, the difficulty of practice would greatly increase, and it would be difficult for ordinary warriors with ordinary talents to learn. However, at this moment, on the body of the figure in front of Jiang Heng practicing 3 forms of the crippled ape, more than 50 lines appeared on his body at the same time for each move. The dense red lines, like a large net, enveloped the entire projection. The corner of Jiang Heng's mouth twitched slightly. No wonder it is said that the Diamond series, martial arts are difficult to learn. 3 forms of the crippled ape, is so outrageous. Then how difficult should the last top-level martial art in this series be? Li Minglang smiled and asked, "How is it, do you still want to learn it? It's still time to change now. Actually, it is not necessary to complete a whole set of series of martial arts. The Bureau still has other very good professional-grade martial arts." Jiang Heng shook his head. "Learn. It's nothing more than spending more time." He believes that with his current memory ability and understanding of martial arts, he will definitely be able to learn this martial art. If even he can't learn it, no body refinement level 3 warrior in Nanjing City should be able to learn it. Li Minglang nodded slightly, and was not surprised by Jiang Heng's choice. Well, given the extreme difficulty of this martial art, You can study in this secret room for as long as you want, or if you can't learn at once, you can come again for the second or third time. Until you can completely remember the chi circulation routes of this martial art, and then enter the training pod to truly feel it once. Jiang Heng stood next to the projection in the middle of the secret room and began to study this extremely difficult professional-grade martial art. Chapter 73 Selection Quotas and Promotion. Time flowed by slowly, reaching 1:30 p.m. Jiang Heng sent a message to Director Zhang Yunliang, informing him that he was currently studying martial arts and would be unable to participate in the afternoon sweep against the Hongmen. Zhang Yunliang naturally understood. He couldn't wait for Jiang Heng to improve his strength quickly, preferably reaching the peak of level 3 immediately. At that time, with him included, the Martial Security Bureau would have 2 peak level 3 body refinement experts, and then they wouldn't need to worry at all, and could directly chase after Peng Long and kill him. Time continued to pass. In the evening, Li Minglang got off work, greeted Jiang Heng, and left him alone in the secret room to continue studying. It wasn't until noon the next day that Jiang Heng, who had stayed in the secret room for a day and a night, finally pushed open the metal door and walked out. Li Minglang slapped his thigh and stood up from his office chair. You really can endure. How did it go? Jiang Heng blinked his somewhat sore eyes and nodded. I've memorized everything, but I haven't actually tried it yet. Li Minglang nodded. That's good. Now, lie down in the training pod, and I'll let you experience the real chi flow path of the open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket again. Okay. Jiang Heng came to the training pod. Buzz. A low buzzing sound rang out from the training pod, and Jiang Heng immediately lay down inside, the soft special material quickly enveloping his entire body. The training pod door slowly closed. Li Minglang stood outside the training pod and entered a series of commands on the external display screen. Inside the pod, Jiang Heng quickly felt streams of warm energy merging into his body, flowing along precise paths, and erupting at fixed locations. On the display screen on the back of the pod door, the corresponding chi flow positions and exertion movements were also marked. Time passed again. An hour later, the warm energy injected into the special material gradually dissipated within Jiang Heng's body. Buzz. The pod door opened again, and Jiang Heng walked out, his body radiating heat. Although the flow path of the open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket was extremely complex, not only were there many paths, but they also had to flow synchronously, at fixed points and times, erupting with a fixed rhythm. But after a day and a night of memorization and first-hand experience in the training pod, he had basically engraved this martial art into his mind. Li Minglang looked up and asked, "How do you feel?" "It's okay, I've basically figured it out." Li Minglang nodded with satisfaction. It seems that the Dao seed fragment was really given to the right person. Hearing this, Jiang Heng's heart stirred slightly, and he shook off the remaining heat lingering on his body. "Professor Li, I remember you said before that reaching level 3 of body refinement would be considered meeting the standard for Dao seed approval. I wonder if there are any other specific requirements." The previous neural network Dao seed fragment had indeed brought him great benefits. If he could obtain the complete version of the Dao seed, it would likely be of even greater assistance to him. "Well, I will help you apply for it, but..." Li Minglang frowned and said, "The quota for Dao seeds has been tightening recently. A bunch of people in Tianfu provincial city are in line, so you'll probably have to wait for a while." Speaking of this, he paused, looked up at Jiang Heng, and said, "There is one more thing that I recommend you consider striving for, and that is the selection quota for the Tianfu Martial Security Department." The selection quota for the Tianfu Martial Security Department. A hint of doubt appeared in Jiang Heng's eyes. Li Minglang explained, "With your talent, you definitely won't just stop at level 4 of body refinement in the future, but the resources of the Nanjing City Martial Security Bureau can only support you to cultivate to level 4 of body refinement. Unless you can have other channels to purchase them at a high price from other major forces in the outside world. Otherwise, these are all high-level resources, and most of them are only available in Tianfu Provincial City. If you just want to stay in Nanjing City, retire and accumulate qualifications, then you may be able to become a high-level official in the municipal government or the deputy director of the General Bureau in the future, but your martial arts level may be difficult to continue to improve. But if you still plan to continue on the path of martial arts, then you must be transferred to Tianfu Provincial City, where there are higher-level martial arts resources." Hearing this, Jiang Heng was thoughtful. Of course, it was impossible for him to stop here and stay in Nanjing City. Not to mention anything else, the local government army in the southern Thai Myanmar administrative region is already about to be crushed by the 1,000 GU allied army. All sides of reinforcements are desperately filling in, but they still can't stop the decline. Who knows when the 1,000 GU allied army will go north? The local army of the entire Thai Myanmar administrative region can't stop the 1,000 GU allied army, and a mere Nanjong city naturally can't stop it either. At that time, Nanjong City, or even the entire Tianfu administrative region, may become a battlefield. As a member of the Martial Security Bureau, he will definitely have to go to the battlefield. How is it possible to retire? Right now, he naturally has to take advantage of the fact that the crisis has not yet arrived and improve his strength as soon as possible, the higher the better. Jiang Heng thought for a while and asked, what are the requirements for the Martial Security Department's selection quota? Li Minglang unscrewed his thermos cup, took a sip of wolfberry tea, and held out a finger, explaining. There are two basic requirement restrictions. The first point is that the military rank must reach the third-level sergeant, which is the level of a branch bureau director. According to our requirements, that is, accumulated merit points exceeding 200,000 and a body refinement level exceeding level 4. Speaking, he held out a second finger. The second point is that they must be young cadres, that is, the age limit is under 25 years old. Jiang Heng was slightly stunned. Level 4 body refinement under 25 years old. As far as he knew, very few people in the entire Nanjong city could reach level 4 body refinement before the age of 25, and within the Martial Security Bureau, it was probably even fewer. Li Minglang smiled and said, why else would it be called selection? It is naturally selecting the most outstanding talents. Nanjong City will declare selection quotas every June. You probably won't have a chance this year, but with your talent, maybe you will have hope next year. If you have any ideas yourself, it is best to prepare in advance. Jiang Heng nodded thoughtfully. It is January now, and there are still half a year before June. In this half year, accumulate 200,000 merit points and break through to level 4 body refinement. Li Minglang put down the thermos cup in his hand and asked. By the way, Yukon district seems a bit dangerous lately. Do you want to transfer to the main bureau? It would be safer there. Jiang Heng shook his head. No need. Yukon district is a great opportunity to earn merit points right now. How could he leave at a time like this? Li Minglang nodded slightly. All right, I have some things to take care of, so I won't keep you. Okay, goodbye Professor Li. Jiang Heng left the Martial Security Main Bureau and drove back to the Guangxin Street garrison. He had temporarily moved out of Chongming Street and would be residing in the Guangxin Street garrison for the time being. Although the garrison on this street was relatively remote and uninhabited, the surroundings were already covered with cameras. Any suspicious person approaching would immediately trigger an alarm, preventing Jiang Heng from experiencing what happened a few nights ago. The newest novels are first published on Lu_9_Shu_Ba. Jiang Heng walked into the martial arts room, reviewed the cultivation methods of the three forms of the crippled ape in his mind, and then began to assume the starting stance. Open double angle bracket. Three forms of the crippled ape. Close double angle bracket consists of 3 moves: mountain collapsing, river splitting, blood weeping, moon plucking, and sunset reflecting, river burning. Jiang Heng took a false step with his left foot, and his right arm pulled back as if drawing a bow of 1,000 caddies. He executed the first form of the crippled ape, mountain collapsing, river splitting. At the same time, he controlled the qi within his body, dividing it into dozens of operating routes to jointly propel the muscles to exert force. 1 hour later, Jiang Heng stopped cultivating and stood in the center of the martial arts room again. With a thought, the panel opened before his eyes. Martial arts, 3 forms of the crippled ape, proficiency 0.1%. The 3 forms of the crippled ape had already appeared on the panel, but its proficiency was still stuck at 0.1%. Although he had memorized the method of cultivating open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket, actual cultivation was still very difficult and obscure. After cultivating for 3 hours, he still hadn't grasped the knack. However, this was not important to Jiang Heng. After all, practicing correctly required attention to various details and tricks, and it took a long time for the body to form muscle memory. But practicing in reverse didn't require so much attention. Anyway, no matter how you practiced, it would be wrong. Jiang Heng closed the panel and continued to cultivate open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket. However, this time, the qi within his body began to move in the completely opposite direction. Collision, impact, tearing cells, a tidal wave of severe pain spread upwards. Moreover, compared to when he practiced open double angle bracket 6 forms of the white ape close double angle bracket, it was even more intense. After all, when he practiced open double angle bracket 6 forms of the white ape close double angle bracket, only a dozen or so chi operating routes were carried out simultaneously. But now, there were a full 50 or so chi operating routes tearing through his body at the same time, as if he was being sliced into 1,000 pieces, with countless blades shuttling through his body. 2 hours later, Jiang Heng stopped cultivating and collapsed to the ground, his whole body drenched in sweat, and the surface of his skin was a blood-like dark red. Huff, huff. He slightly calmed his heavy breathing and opened the panel to look at the current state line. Current state: mild Yan breath syndrome, severe biological muscle dysfunction syndrome, muscle dissolution. Cough cough. Jiang Heng nodded slightly in satisfaction. Since he stepped into the peak of level 2, he had never aggravated the biological muscle dysfunction syndrome in his body to the extent of muscle dissolution. Now, cultivating this open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket had brought back the feeling from before. He sat up again, silently reciting in his heart, disease erosion, conversion. The profound power of disease erosion rapidly poured into Jiang Heng's body, gently cleansing the lesions in his body, repairing the originally dissolved muscle cells, and feeding back into various forces. A large amount of experience and memories about open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket poured into his mind, and at the same time, it was engraved into the muscles of his body. It was as if he had cultivated this martial art countless times, gradually becoming familiar and mastering it from the initial unfamiliarity and errors. A few seconds later, the power of disease erosion gradually dissipated. Flesh body level, 3.16 right pointing arrow 3.17. Martial arts, 3 forms of the crippled ape, proficiency 10.1%. Current state: mild Yan breath syndrome, mild biological muscle dysfunction syndrome. Jiang Heng saw the data changes on the panel and immediately smiled with satisfaction. It's still a 10% increase each time, very good. Then he opened the expansion item of the flesh body level and found a line of data among them. Bone potential development progress, 6%. Basic martial arts excavate the skin and membranes, advanced martial arts excavate the muscles. Compared to the skin, membranes, and muscles, bone marrow is the treasure trove of human bioenergy, containing far more bioenergy than ordinary cells. If you cultivate open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket and other superior professional level martial arts to perfection, you can also develop the bone potential to 60%, and the intensity of chi will be greatly enhanced. Jiang Heng withdrew his gaze and pondered silently in his heart. At this rate, in at most 10 days, I will be able to cultivate open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket to perfection. Plus the level 3 candlelight breathing technique supplemented with dragon scale Yan fire ointment, half a month should be enough to help me raise my flesh body level to the middle and late stages of level 3. Jiang Heng's eyes narrowed slightly, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. By then, in Yukon District's Hongmen, apart from Stone Buddha Peng Long, the remaining 2 level 3 martial artists, Blood Rain Mo Sanyang and Shadow Ding Yan, will definitely not be my opponents. With a thought, Jiang Heng flipped over and jumped up, recalling the general outline of open double angle bracket 3 forms of the crippled ape close double angle bracket compiled by Senior Yuan Jinggong. The spine is like a collapsing bow storing thunder and fire, and the chi runs through the triple burner burning the golden furnace. He took a false step with his left foot, and shouted in a low voice, his right arm pulled back as if drawing a bow of 1,000 caddies, his fist facing outward in a mountain-crushing stance. His rear foot stomped on the ground, and he twisted his waist and flipped his wrist. The ape cries and the rivers and mountains shatter, a crippled body dares to crash into Buzhou Mountain. Jiang Heng suddenly unleashed the first form of the crippled ape, mountain collapsing river splitting, his body striding forward, and his fist slammed forward. A deafening sound, like the collapse of mountains and rivers, exploded in the martial arts room, spreading throughout Guangxin Street. Chapter 74 Promotion. In the following days. During the day, Jiang Heng followed the Wuhan Bureau's operations, clearing out the Hongmen forces in Yukon District. In the evening, he used the dragon scale fire ointment to assist in his cultivation of the candle flame breathing technique. Then, late at night, he practiced the 3 forms of the crippled ape, for another 3 hours, not sleeping until 3 or 4 in the morning. With his current physical body level, 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night was enough to completely restore his mental state. Yukon District, Emerald Bamboo Summer Resort. Stone Buddha Pang Long and the remaining red sticks of Hongmen gathered in the underground hall again. The hall was brightly lit, seemingly no different from a few days ago. However, the 7 red sticks who had been sitting at the square table were now only 6. The air was deathly silent. Pang Long, sitting expressionlessly on the large chair at the front, scanned the crowd below, then focused his gaze on the 2 empty chairs. After Lu Yuheng, even Iron Ghost Zhao Shan, a level 3 physical body, had died at the hands of the Wuan Bureau. Mo Sanyang could no longer contain the anger in her heart and said, "That idiot Zhao Shan, we had already agreed to attack level 2 physical bodies first, to eliminate the Wuan Bureau's living strength. He, on the other hand, acted cleverly and ran to deal with the level 3 physical body captain, and was even killed in return, truly a death not to be regretted." Ding Yan, the silent shadow, who had always been taciturn, finally couldn't help but speak, his hoarse voice echoing in the hall. "This kind of idiot deserves to die, but now that he's dead, what should we do?" Originally, the top combat power of Hongmen and the Wuan Bureau in Yukon district was evenly matched. Hongmen had Stone Buddha, a level 3 peak, and 3 red sticks with level 3 physical bodies. The Wuan Bureau had Zhang Yunliang, a level 3 peak, and Huo Jiyang, Wang Siheng, and Duan Zhenyu, 3 branch captains with level 3 physical bodies. But now, Hongmen had lost a level 3 red stick, while the Yukon District Wuan Bureau had gained a 4th branch captain with a level 3 physical body. With this ebb and flow, Hongmen's chances of winning had greatly decreased. Hearing Ding Yan's words, the eyes of the red sticks present flickered slightly. Although they were all members of Hongmen in Yukon District, a tree dies when moved, a man lives when he moves, Hongmen's power wasn't only in Yukon District. If things couldn't be done, they could leave Yukon District and join Hongmen branches in other areas, and didn't need to stay in Yukon District and be buried with Zhao Shan and Lu Yuheng. Stone Buddha Pang Long suddenly stood up, his cold and grand voice echoing in the hall. "Then I would like to hear, what do you want to do?" His huge body instantly blocked the light from the ceiling, and the shadows spread out like mercury. The loose martial arts uniform on his body moved without wind, and the astonishing power seemed to freeze the air in the room. Ding Yan's breathing stagnated slightly, then he closed his mouth and said nothing. Pang Long stared at the red sticks present with his tiger eyes. "With a great enemy in front of us, you're thinking of deserting before the battle. Come, tell me, which idiot wants to escape? I can send him down to see Zhao Shan right now." It didn't matter if others ran away, it was just changing to another branch leader to be the boss. But if Pang Long, as the branch leader, dared to escape, it would be equivalent to losing the entire Yukon district branch, and Lin Zhenan would never let him go. Moreover, Pang Long had been rooted in Yukon district for so many years, and his life's foundation was here, how could he escape? Seeing that all the red sticks present were silent, Pang Long nodded in satisfaction, the muscles at his neck heavily stacked like layers of folds. "You have been in Yukon district for so many years, and Hongmen has never treated you badly when it was time to enjoy yourselves. Now it's time to contribute, and you have to contribute for me." After speaking, Pang Long beckoned. An subordinate behind him walked forward carrying a metal suitcase, placed the suitcase on the table and opened it, revealing 7 neatly arranged potions inside. The potions were dark red in color, and under the light above, they emitted a dim halo. The red sticks present immediately had a bad feeling in their hearts, and Mo Sanyang and Ding Yan, who recognized the potion, changed their expressions slightly. "This is bone-corroding virus potion," Pang Long said expressionlessly. "This is a modified bone-corroding virus potion, which can help your strength improve by 1 level. Level 2 peaks can be raised to pseudo-level 3, and level 3 early stages can be raised to mid-stage. Of course, the price is the exhaustion of potential. But your strength has stagnated at this level for so many years, and you probably won't have any room for improvement in the future, so I think it doesn't matter if your potential is exhausted, right?" After Pang Long finished speaking, his gaze slowly swept over the 6 red sticks present. "Does anyone not want to drink it?" Everyone was silent. The side effects of this potion were definitely not as simple as Pang Long said. But if they refused to take it, they would probably be killed on the spot by Pang Long. As for joining forces to resist, all of them combined might not be Pang Long's opponent. Even if they could win, rebelling against Pang Long at this juncture would most likely be regarded as traitors by Hongmen. And the Wuan Bureau would not let them go either. At that time, there would probably be no place for them in the entire Nanjing city. After Pang Long finished threatening them, his expression eased slightly and said, "If you take this potion, we will definitely be able to win this battle, and then the entire Yukon district will be our world. I guarantee that everyone present will still be the red sticks of Yukon district at that time. And I will also ask the main hall master to help you restore your own potential. After Pang Long finished speaking, he stopped talking and just stared coldly at everyone present, waiting for them to make a choice. Mo Sanyang, Ding Yan, and the remaining red sticks sitting at the square table all knew that they had to make a decision now. Ding Yan, the silent shadow, sighed in his heart. Helplessly, he reached out and picked up a bottle of potion from the suitcase, opened the seal, and slowly poured it into his mouth and drank it. Seeing this, Mo Sanyang, although her expression was still somewhat unwilling, could only reach out and pick up a bottle of bone-corroding virus potion, take it and swallow it. The remaining red sticks looked at each other helplessly and each took the potion. Pang Long nodded in satisfaction. This improved potion will gradually take effect within 10 days. During this time, tell your subordinates to lie low for the time being and avoid direct conflict with the Wuhan Bureau. The latest and greatest novels are at 6_9_book_bar_first. Half a month later, it will be time for us to counterattack. Yes. The red sticks in front of the square table responded in unison. Time passed slowly, and in the following 10 days or so, the Yukon District Wuhan Bureau continued to advance and clear out the Hongmen forces, but these Hongmen disciples had expected this and continued to fight guerrilla warfare with the Wuhan Bureau, resulting in slow progress in the clearing operation, and the battle gradually fell into a stalemate. And the several level 3 physical body martial artists of Hongmen also seemed to have disappeared without a trace, and no longer appeared in front of the Wuhan Bureau. Guangxin Street Garrison Room. Jiang Heng stood in the center of the martial arts room, practicing the 3 forms of the crippled ape, over and over again. Although the chi sensation running route of the 3 forms of the crippled ape was very complicated, fortunately, there were only 3 moves, and the speed of practicing one time was very fast, so it could be practiced repeatedly. At this time, Jiang Heng's exertion posture was as standard as if it had been tempered 1,000 times. However, more than 50 chi sensations throughout his body were running against the meridians, tearing cell tissues, and even damaging bone marrow. Blood gradually seeped out from the surface of his skin, turning dark red, and the pain like 1,000 cuts stimulated his nerves like a tide. It wasn't until he had practiced for 3 hours. Huff! Jiang Heng stopped the movements of his body, trembling all over, and without caring about the sweat-soaked marks on the ground, he collapsed directly to the ground. Then, without hesitation, he silently recited in his heart, "Disease erosion, conversion." The gentle and mysterious power of disease erosion merged into his body, quickly clearing the lesions of the biological kinesiology syndrome in his body, converting the feedback into physical body strength, as well as various experiences and memories about the 3 forms of the crippled ape, which merged into Jiang Heng's mind and body. The 3 forms of the crippled ape, which had already been tempered 1,000 times, was also constantly filling in its defects and gradually approaching perfection under the integration of this experience and memory. After a few breaths, the power of disease erosion slowly dissipated. The severe pain all over Jiang Heng's body also disappeared without a trace, and his body regained its health. He sat up, and with a thought, opened the panel. Name: Jiang Heng. Physical body level: 3.49 right pointing arrow 3.50. Cultivation method: 9th set of Zhengjin breathing method perfect candle flame series level 1 breathing method perfect candle flame series level 2 breathing method perfect candle flame series level 3 breathing method proficiency 61%. Martial arts: Vajra 8 forms perfect heart tiger stance perfect white ape 6 forms perfect crippled ape 3 forms proficiency 91%. Current state: mild flame breath syndrome, mild biological kinesiology syndrome. In the past half-month, with the assistance of the Dragon Scale Fire Ointment and the feedback power brought by reverse training of the 3 forms of the crippled ape, his physical body level had increased from 3.17 to 3.50. After entering the level 3 physical body, although the increase in muscle strength gradually slowed down, more of it was the overall growth of biological energy within the body's cells. However, every increase of 0.01 in the physical body level could still increase strength by 50 to 100 kilograms. Therefore, Jiang Heng's basic strength at this moment had reached 7 tons, and if he used the Tier 3 blood burning and professional level martial arts, doubling it would not be a problem. The level 3 candle flame breathing method had also increased its proficiency to 61% under the assistance of the Dragon Scale Fire Ointment, which meant that it had already entered great accomplishment. At this moment, when using Tier 3 blood burning again, the external flame breath could truly merge into the qi sensation in the body and burst out with a certain burning effect. If it were a normal martial artist, they would definitely not dare to fully activate the burning power of the flame breath. Because this burning qi sensation could damage their own physical body while killing the enemy. But Jiang Heng was different. Starting from the level 1 breathing method of the candle flame series, he had been absorbing a large amount of flame breath to stimulate his body, and then converting the diseases through disease erosion. At this time, his physical body's resistance to the flame breath had been stacked to a very high level. This level of flame breath in his body could no longer cause him harm. He could burst out 100% of the power of the flame breath, attach flames of over 2000 degrees Celsius to the outside of his body to burn the enemy, enough to melt steel. Jiang Heng thought in his heart, then shifted his gaze down. Looking at the crippled 8-3 forms in the martial arts line, while unfolding the skeletal potential item of the physical body level. Martial arts, crippled 8-3 forms proficiency 91%. Skeletal potential development progress, 54%. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 75 Fighting. After half a month of diligent cultivation, Jiang Heng had advanced open double angle bracket remaining 8-3 forms close double angle bracket past the thresholds of minor accomplishment, major accomplishment, and peak, reaching a proficiency of 91%, with only 9% remaining until perfected mastery. He would likely need only 1 or 2 more sessions of cultivation to completely elevate this martial art to the perfected mastery realm. As for the development progress of his bone potential, it had also increased to 54%, and the overall qi sensation within his body had become more than twice as robust. Perhaps at that time, he would be able to discover the shortcomings of the Vajra series, innovate, and push the Vajra series of martial arts to a more powerful level. Jiang Heng withdrew his thoughts and stood in the center of the martial arts room. He casually took off his Martial Security Bureau uniform, revealing a body of sturdy muscles carved like jade. He stood still and then adjusted his breathing. The Tier 3 blood ignition was quickly activated. External flame breath poured into his body from 5 locations: the crown of his head, both palms, and both knees. At the same time, the bioenergy of his body's cells was also mobilized, quickly transforming into thick strands of qi sensation, merging with the external flame breath. In an instant, the invisible and colorless qi sensation was immediately dyed with a touch of crimson, as if transforming into a phantom scarlet python, wriggling out from his body and coiling around it. The qi sensation emanating from it seemed to have raging flames burning, and the blazing red light illuminated the surroundings. The air seemed to be distorted here, and the extremely high temperature quickly engulfed the entire martial arts room. If this appearance were placed in ancient times, it would probably be crowned with the title of a deity. With a thought, Jiang Heng stamped his left foot on the ground, and his figure suddenly lunged forward 3 feet. His knees turned outward, resembling an ape squatting on an ancient pine, and his 10 fingers became claws, tearing through the void. At the same time, dozens of qi sensation pathways intertwined and spread within his body. His fists and claws were as fast as lightning, wrapped in a torrent of flame-like qi sensation, instantly blasting out, and directly crushing the air in his hand. Boom! A gale roared, and a rolling heatwave swept through the entire martial arts room. Jiang Heng retracted his palm and nodded in satisfaction. What he had just performed was the second form of the remaining ape, Weeping Blood Jai Moon. I wonder what level my current strength can reach among Tier 3 body refinement. Jiang Heng muttered to himself, then dissipated the flames formed by the qi sensation around him and walked to the side to pick up his phone and glanced at the time. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the time for the Martial Security Bureau to take action was approaching. He then pushed open the door of the martial arts room and walked towards the Martial Security Bureau. 2:30 in the afternoon. North of Yukon District, Wadong Street. At this time, the Martial Security Bureau had completely cleared the Hongmen forces in the west, southwest, and southeast areas. The north side was also about to be completely cleared. In this way, the strength of the Hongmen in Yukon District had already shrunk by more than half, and complete annihilation was probably only a matter of time. Jiang Heng sat in a military off-road vehicle, with several Martial Security Group communications currently connected to the communicator. Second group, report the situation. Everything is normal. Most of the Hongmen members in the current area have withdrawn, with only a few unimportant disciples left behind. Jiang Heng nodded slightly and contacted several groups nearby that were under his command. After confirming that everything was normal, he finally contacted the 4th group of the 3rd detachment. Lao Lu, is everything okay on your side? Jiang Heng asked. No one, it's all empty, they've all run away. Lu Zehai's voice came from the communicator, his tone somewhat depressed. No one meant there were no merit points to be earned. His accumulated merit points were still a few thousand short of 50,000. Hehe, don't worry, after the north side is cleared, sweep towards the east side, you should be able to encounter people. The remaining strength of the Hongmen is probably mainly concentrated in that area. Yeah, I know, Lu Zehai's tone was a little low. Jiang Heng was a little surprised when he heard this and said, why do I feel like you're a little listless? A tier 2 peak shouldn't get sick, right? Before Lu Zehai could reply, his team member Chen Yao covered her mouth and laughed. Lu Zehai was a little embarrassed and gently slapped the back of Chen Yao's head, feeling a little helpless in his heart. A former subordinate had undergone a transformation and was now his immediate superior. This feeling was really strange. Jiang Heng smiled and joked casually. Is that so? Lao Lu, how long before you advance to tier 3 body refinement? It should be soon, right? Don't let me leave you too far behind. Lu Zehai's face darkened. Hehe, you just watch. When I reach tier 3, I will definitely be able to suppress you and beat you. The breathing technique he cultivated was called the 100 Elephant Series breathing technique. This breathing technique was not particularly outstanding in tier 1 and tier 2. But once he reached tier 3, he would be able to initially display the power of 100 elephants. His strength would far exceed martial artists of the same level. In just 1 or 2 months, he would be able to gain a firm foothold in tier 3 body refinement and be no weaker than others. In fact, before Jiang Heng arrived, Zhang Yunliang's original plan was to wait for Lu Zehai to advance to tier 3 body refinement. In this way, the bureau would have 4 tier 3 body refinement martial artists, and they could take action against the Hongmen. However, Jiang Heng's appearance disrupted this plan, causing the conflict between the Martial Security Bureau and the Hongmen to erupt ahead of schedule. When Jiang Heng heard Lu Zehai's words, he was about to laugh and say something. Suddenly, an emergency message was inserted into the vehicle-mounted communicator. Emergency notice, Pang Long is carrying several Hongmen red sticks and has appeared in the southwest area, attacking the first detachment. All Martial Security Bureau members in the vicinity, please go to support. Emergency notice, Pang Long is carrying several Hongmen red sticks. Jiang Heng's expression changed slightly. Stone Buddha Pang Long had appeared. He immediately got up and was about to go to the southwest area. At this time, Lu Zehai's angry roar suddenly rang out from the communicator in his hand. Enemy attack. Immediately following was a burst of noisy rumbling. Jiang Heng was slightly stunned, then immediately understood. The Hongmen had divided their forces into 2 groups, not only attacking the southwest side, but also sending a group to the north side to attack Lu Zehai's 4th group. Without asking questions or hesitating, he immediately. Jiang Heng swiftly opened the car door, his figure transforming into an arrow shooting off its bow, speeding towards Lu Zehai's location. Regardless of the distance, just considering the care Lu Zehai had shown him when Jiang Heng was still at the 1st or 2nd level of body refinement, he could never abandon him and head southwest for support. 3 kilometers away from Wudong Street is Guanbei Street. Inside the Hongmen Foot Bathhouse, a 3-story building. One entire side of the building's thick wall was cleaved in 2 by a frigid blade, then collapsed with a thunderous crash, sending dust billowing. Lu Zehai yanked Chen Yao behind him, causing her to fall heavily to the ground. At this moment, Lu Zehai stood before her, his body seemingly coated in a layer of bronze, fully utilizing the martial art, copper Buddha body, like a bronze arhat. However, the uniform in front of this arhat had already been torn open, revealing a deep, bone-exposing wound where flesh was rolled back, oozing blood. Lu Zehai's face was contorted with ferocity as he stared intently at the figure standing behind the broken wall, a figure clad in black. The black trench coat nearly dragged on the ground. The figure was slender and upright, with triangular eyes, a hooked nose, and a goatee, appearing to be in his early 30s, holding a dark-colored alloy blade in his hand, his face expressionless. A cold and ferocious aura surged towards Lu Zehai like a tide. The latest and fastest novels are first published on Lu_9_Shu_Ba. Internal intelligence from the Martial Security Agency already had a portrait of this person. This man was Ying Ding Yan, one of the 3 Red Pole enforcers of the Hongmen in Yukon District. Go! Lu Zehai roared in a low voice, and Fang Hai behind him suddenly reacted, dragging Chen Yao and turning to flee. His target was the leader of the 4th team of the 3rd branch, Lu Zehai. As for the other small fry, it didn't matter if they escaped. Over the past dozen days, the remaining 6 Red Pole enforcers of the Yukon District Hongmen had all completely digested the modified bone-corroding poison potion within their bodies. Although the marrow in their bones was infected by the bone-corroding virus, losing the possibility of breaking through to the 4th level of body refinement in the future, their strength had soared in a short period of time, far exceeding what they were half a month ago. The Hongmen was ready, and at this moment, they were finally prepared to attack the Martial Security Agency. Stone Buddha Pang Long led the remaining 5 Red Poles who had broken through to pseudo-3rd level with the aid of the bone-corroding poison potion, causing trouble in the southwest, attracting the attention of most of the Martial Security Agency members. Ding Yan and Mo Sanyang came to the north to eliminate the living forces of the Martial Security Agency. The primary target among them was Lu Zehai. This was the team leader in the Martial Security Agency who was closest to the 3rd level of body refinement, and it was very likely that he would become the 5th 3rd level body refinement in Yukon District. Therefore, this person must be killed. Mo Sanyang had already gone to intercept Jiang Heng, the captain of the 4th branch, while his current mission target was to kill Lu Zehai. Afterwards, he would go and join Mo Sanyang to jointly kill Jiang Heng. The smoke and gravel gradually dissipated. Ding Yan stepped over the gravel, without getting a speck of dust on him, then stepped into the hall on the 2nd floor. Without saying a word, the cold, dark golden chi sensation poured into the blade in his hand. He was about to slash down at Lu Zehai with his blade. Lu Zehai retreated violently, about to retreat backward, but he couldn't escape the speed of this blade at all. The difference in strength between the 2nd level of body refinement and the 3rd level of body refinement was too great. Ying Ding Yan was far from someone he, who hadn't yet stepped into the 3rd level, could contend with. Lu Zehai's pupils contracted violently, watching as the blade cut through the air, rapidly enlarging before his eyes. The next moment, boom, the wall beside him shattered with a crash, and a sturdy figure suddenly flashed in the corner of his eye. The chi sensation covering his entire body was like a burning flame, with a faint phantom of a scarlet python coiling around him. He was truly like a god descending to earth, twisting his waist and spinning in midair, erupting with a kick to Ying Ding Yan's side. Bang! The violent power poured out from his right leg. Ying Ding Yan's face changed drastically, his body flew horizontally, smashing through several walls on the 2nd floor of the foot bathhouse, and his figure disappeared without a trace. Lu Zehai's face was stunned, the figure in front of him was familiar yet strange, the fiery chi sensation all over his body was extremely oppressive. Jiang Heng, you. Old Lu, are you alright? Jiang Heng turned his head and glanced at him. Lu Zehai reacted and shook his head. I'm fine. Jiang Heng responded, without asking any more questions. His figure had already leapt up, rushing towards Ying Ding Yan who had already rushed out of the foot bathhouse. At this time, Ding Yan had been blasted more than 100 meters away by Jiang Heng's kick, and his entire person was heavily embedded in another building across the street. He suddenly pulled himself out, the trench coat at his waist and abdomen was torn to shreds, and the skin and flesh were scorched into a blur by the Yenshi chi sensation. Ding Yan endured the severe pain on his body and roared, Mo Sanyang, what are you doing? Mo Sanyang's mission was to stop Jiang Heng, not letting him come to support, but how much time had passed before Jiang Heng had already arrived here? Was this woman a rice bucket, unable to hold him back for such a short time? Ding Yan cursed inwardly. At this moment, Mo Sanyang's figure appeared from behind the street, dressed in red gauze, her face cold. This kid ran too fast, I hadn't even arrived at the scene yet, and he had already chased you here. Ding Yan cast a gloomy glance at Mo Sanyang. Forget it, it's all the same, let's kill this Jiang Heng first, and then kill that Lu Zehai. Step. Ding Yan's voice had not yet faded. Jiang Heng stepped out from the 2nd floor of the foot bathhouse. At this moment, he was condescending, overlooking the 2 people in front of him with an expressionless face. The uniform on his upper body had already been burned away by the high temperature, revealing a sturdy figure nearly 2 meters tall. His muscles were knotted like jade carvings, flames surged behind him, and the scarlet python formed by chi sensation coiled around him. The atmosphere on the street suddenly dropped to freezing point, and a great battle was about to break out. Recommend a rebirth novel written by a friend, it's good. Chapter 76 Beheading. Guanbei Street. This street, located in the northern part of Yukon District, is quite old, with 2- and 3-story-old buildings lining both sides. Cracked cement roads and dilapidated streetlights reveal a sense of decline. Even the residents living on this street are mostly middle-aged and elderly people, and apart from some hidden darkness beneath the calm, the entire street is very inconspicuous. But today, a series of roars shattered the tranquility of this street. Standing on the second floor of the foot massage parlor, Jiang Heng looked indifferent. The scorching temperature emitted by the third-level blood ignition distorted the surrounding air. Ding Yan and Mo Sanyang, on the opposite side of the street below, faintly felt a sense of pressure from Jiang Heng. The two couldn't help but exchange a glance, both reading a hint of surprise in each other's eyes. Both of them had already taken the improved version of the bone erosion virus potion, and their strength had been greatly improved. The two of them working together could probably kill the Iron Ghost Zhao Shan with a single breath. Logically speaking, they should also be able to kill Jiang Heng, who had just entered the third level of body refinement not long ago. But why? Ding Yan frowned, staring at Jiang Heng on the second floor, his mind flashing through various thoughts. At this moment, the arrow was already on the string and had to be fired. Peng Long had already led people in the southwest region to create opportunities for the two of them. If this mission fails, it is hard to imagine how Peng Long's rage will greet them when they return. Ding Yan made up his mind and snorted in a low voice, "Attack together, we must kill him." Okay. Mo Sanyang was obviously aware of the urgency of the matter, her face was cold, and she nodded in agreement. As soon as she finished speaking, Ding Yan stepped out. His figure seemed to transform into a ghost, silently merging into the air, and killing Jiang Heng on the second floor of the foot massage parlor. He practiced the Shadow Series breathing technique, which is extremely good at concealment and assassination. And he has already cultivated a professional level martial art, Shadow Blade, to a minor success, approaching the point of great success. The breathing technique and martial arts complement each other, creating his current strength that surpasses other mid-stage third-level martial artists. On the other side, Mo Sanyang also made a move at the same time. Her close combat skills are not strong, but her own aura is extremely suitable for attaching to hidden weapons. She also cultivated a professional level, Blood Swallow Hand, to the point of minor success. As Ding Yan attacked from the left, she quickly went around from the right, while extending her 5 fingers, with 5 blood droplets hidden in her fingers, integrated with her own aura. Swish, swish, accompanied by several sounds of piercing through the air, several blood drop-shaped hidden weapons, as red as blood, tore through the air. With a speed and power far exceeding bullets, they shot towards Jiang Heng at an extremely fast speed. Facing the two killing intents from the left and right, Jiang Heng's expression remained calm. The majestic bioenergy surged out of the muscles and bones in his body again, gathering into thick auras, rushing and surging along the more than 50 aura operation routes in his body. With the potential of his bones developed to nearly 60%, the overall aura in his body has grown several times stronger. Even if he fully activates the third-level blood ignition at the same time, he still has enough spare power to use the 3 forms of the crippled ape. His left leg touched the ground, and he took a step out of the broken outer wall of the foot massage parlor on the second floor, his figure pulling out a fiery red afterimage in the air. In the blink of an eye, he crossed a distance of 30 feet, avoiding the rapidly approaching blood droplet hidden weapons, and facing Ding Yan head-on. Ding Yan's eyes turned cold, and he thought to himself, "He wants to fight me in close combat. Okay, then let me see how you were able to kill Zhao Shan." He lowered his center of gravity, his left knee sinking as if bending a bow, and his figure suddenly burst out, approaching Jiang Heng in the blink of an eye, and then suddenly moved to the left. His right hand flipped his wrist, and a thick aura exploded along several meridians in his arm at the same time, and a phantom shadow flashed along his knife-wielding right hand. Shadow Blade Throat Lock Stab. This is the fastest and fiercest move in the martial art, Shadow Blade, and it is also the most proficient move that Ding Yan has practiced for many years. He has used this move to assassinate countless experts over the years, and now he is using it on this kid who still smells of milk, presumably he will also. A slender palm suddenly stretched out, passing through the blade stabbed out by Ding Yan from the left. The knotted and powerful muscles on his arm contained majestic power, wrapped in a flame-like aura. Clearly he made his move later than Ding Yan, but his speed was faster. In the blink of an eye, he tore through the air, and before Ding Yan's blade could stab Jiang Heng's throat, he formed a claw with his 5 fingers and grabbed Ding Yan's throat. Crippled ape second form Weeping Blood, Plucking the Moon. It is said that when Senior Yuan Jinggong was polishing and creating this move, his own organ diseases had become severe to a certain extent, and the aura operation route of this move would inevitably involve the internal organs. Therefore, every time he used this move against the enemy, he would vomit blood afterwards. So this move, which he hadn't thought of a name for at first, was later simply named, Weeping Blood, Plucking the Moon. Now, Jiang Heng's internal organs are healthy and unharmed, and his understanding of martial arts is no less than that of senior Yuan Jinggong back then. Using this move now will only be more powerful than senior Yuan Jinggong back then. Feeling the cold suffocation in his throat, Ding Yan's face changed drastically. He suddenly raised his head, and at the same time unhesitatingly flipped the blade in his right hand, trying to cut off Jiang Heng's outstretched right hand. However, it was already one step too late. Majestic aura exploded from his fingertips, and his 5 fingers pressed down suddenly, crushing the flesh and bones between Ding Yan's neck. In the next instant, the scarlet flame surging in his palm, as if possessing life, quickly spread to Ding Yan's neck, and swallowed his head in the blink of an eye. Ah! A shrill scream instantly resounded throughout Guanbei Street, scaring the nearby residents into trembling and shattering the things in their hands. How tenacious is the vitality of a third-level martial artist! Even if his head was scorched by the flames and his flesh was almost melted, Ding Yan was still not dead, and he opened his mouth with difficulty. Spare me. Jiang Heng raised his eyebrows slightly, his expression unchanged. With a thought, the flame transformed by his aura suddenly burrowed into his facial features like a maggot on a bone, completely burning his brain. His head completely turned into coke, and he no longer struggled. The newest and most complete novels are available at 69shu.com. Jiang Heng then released his palm. Ding Yan's corpse fell heavily to the ground, and also awakened Mo Sanyang, who was stunned in place. She suddenly came back to her senses, looked at Jiang Heng standing in the center of the street in horror, and then turned around and ran wildly without hesitation. Whether she can withstand Pang Long's anger afterwards is a matter for later. The current question is, can she save her own life? In just the blink of an eye, Ding Yan, a third-level martial artist who had practiced for nearly 20 years, died in this person's hands. Clearly only 18 or 19 years old, having just entered the third level of body refinement, why is he able to be so powerful? Various thoughts flashed through her mind. Her feet were swift, and her figure sped along the street. But with her speed, she probably won't be able to get rid of Jiang Heng behind her. She still vividly remembers the terrifying speed at which this person ran from Wudong Street to Guanbei Street. Having survived in Hongmen for more than 10 years, she has done countless things involving murder and arson. Mo Sanyang had a thought and immediately came up with an idea. Her eyes quickly swept around, and finally locked on an 8 or 9-year-old child standing behind the window on the second floor of a residential building, carefully looking at the street fighting. These members of the Martial Security Bureau are all very hypocritical, and they will definitely not dare to take action again. That will be my chance to escape. This area of Guanbei Street is located in the suburbs of Yuquan District, and is only less than 10 kilometers away from the neighboring Baoshan District. As long as I escape Yuquan District, I can survive. Mo Sanyang suddenly threw a handful of blood droplets towards the rear, and then changed direction, speeding towards the 8-year-old child on the second floor of that residential building. 5 condensed auras of blood droplets instantly shot out, sweeping through the wind, and the sharp sound of breaking through the air exploded in midair. Each of the 5 blood droplets has a power no less than a professional-level martial arts move, condensing Mo Sanyang's maximum aura. Swish, swish. Jiang Heng stared at the 5 hidden weapons in front of him with great power, and the aura in his body once again transformed into dozens of thick swimming snakes, driving the flames on the surface of his body to swirl and lick, distorting the surrounding air. His left foot touched the ground, his figure suddenly advanced 30 feet, and his knotted and powerful arm stretched forward, his muscles tightened like steel wires. Dozens of swimming snake-like auras finally converged into a thick dragon on his right shoulder, pouring out along the meridians of his arm. White Ape second form Weeping Blood, Plucking the Moon was once again displayed. Bang, bang, bang. Jiang Heng's arm, as if wrapped in flames, swept across several afterimages in midair, catching all 5 of these blood droplets. His eyes swept across, and at this time Mo Sanyang had already approached a residential building, jumped up, and stretched out her hand towards the 8-year-old child on the second floor of that residential building. Mo Sanyang obviously didn't realize one thing. With the power of a third-level body refinement martial artist, the child behind the window only needs to be brushed by this impact force, and he will be torn to pieces. However, Jiang Heng will not give her this opportunity. His eyes narrowed, his left step crossed forward, his waist turned to the right, and his right hand was pulled back like a bent bow. Majestic aura was poured into these 5 special alloy-forged blood droplet hidden weapons. Then, he twisted his waist and turned around, and the 5 blood droplets in his hand shot straight at Mo Sanyang with an indomitable momentum. The aura contained in the blood droplets at this moment was even greater than what Mo Sanyang had just poured into them. The flame breath turned into a raging fire, burning on the surface of the alloy. And Mo Sanyang in midair looked at the 8-year-old child in front of her, who was getting closer and closer, her eyes becoming more and more excited. As long as she grabs him, she can restrain the Martial Security Bureau branch captain behind her, preventing him from continuing to hunt her down. Suddenly, a sharp whistling sound exploded in her ears, and an extremely heavy sense of crisis came from behind. Mo Sanyang's heart skipped a beat, and she subconsciously wanted to dodge. Bang, bang, bang. 5 blood droplets burning with flames hit Mo Sanyang's body in succession, and the huge force wrapped her body and flew horizontally for hundreds of meters in midair. She fell like a broken kite, plowing a trail of blood more than 10 meters long on the cement ground of the street. 5 blood droplets were embedded in Mo Sanyang's body, and the 2000-degree flames on them were rapidly scorching her skin and flesh. Chapter 77 Special Resources. Originally fair skin turned into scorched earth in an instant. Mo Sanyang's face was twisted and miserable, her hair disheveled. The red clothes on her body were now reduced to rags due to the violent friction on the ground and the burning of the flames on the blood droplets. She really didn't expect that the 5 blood droplets she threw out would become the last few straws that killed her. No need for children, using passers-by as a threat would also work, as long as she could restrain the person behind her. Step. A figure as sturdy as an iron tower stood in front of Mo Sanyang. The flames transformed by the aura behind him spread to a height of 3 meters, as if transforming into a fierce god's phantom, coldly watching Mo Sanyang at his feet. Mo Sanyang's body trembled, she raised her head in horror, looked at the tall figure in front of her, and barely floated a pale smile on her face. Spare my life, I am a 3rd-level body refinement cultivator, I can give you a lot of help. Before she could finish speaking, a fierce look suddenly burst out in Mo Sanyang's eyes. Her right hand, which had been hidden in her arms for a long time, held 5 blood droplets, ready to throw them at Jiang Heng, who was close at hand. At such a close distance, he definitely won't be able to catch these blood droplets again. However, just as her arms stretched out of her arms, and her aura poured into the blood droplets, Jiang Heng raised his eyebrows slightly, and a long boot suddenly stamped down. Crack, crack, the majestic power slammed onto Mo Sanyang's arm, smashing her arm into her chest. The bones of her arm, along with the ribs of her chest, shattered and collapsed. The ground beneath her shattered suddenly, spreading out nearly 10 meters in all directions like a spider web. Guanbei Street suddenly became quiet, and the streets on both sides were silent. Behind the residential buildings, I don't know how many people were hiding behind the windows, watching this scene outside in astonishment. Cough cough. Lu Zehai, seriously injured, climbed out of the hole in the outer wall of the footbath parlor, looking at the silent scene in front of him somewhat blankly. What's the situation, where are the people? After a while, he noticed that there was a corpse lying on the ground on the left, its head already turned into scorched earth. It seemed to be Ding Yan, the shadow of the hangman. And 100 meters away on the right, in the middle of a large area of spider web-like cracked cement ground, the corpse of a woman in red was deeply embedded in the soil, her shattered right arm deeply embedded in her chest. That is, Mo Sanyang. Lu Zehai was stunned for a moment, and in the blink of an eye, these 2 people were dead. He jumped down from the footbath parlor, and at this time, Fang Hai and Chen Yao, who were hiding downstairs, saw that the fight had stopped, and hurriedly walked out of the corner to help him. Lu Zehai walked to Jiang Heng's side and glanced at the somewhat tragic corpse on the ground. Tisk, you're so ruthless, you didn't even leave alive one. Jiang Heng glanced at him speechlessly. It's good enough that I saved you, why are you being so picky? Lu Zehai grinned. That's right, I almost lost my life this time. Luckily, I'll treat you to dinner when we get back. You're going to repay the grace of saving my life with just one meal. Lu Zehai smiled and said, then why don't I introduce my sister to you? Jiang Heng was slightly speechless for a moment. Lu Zehai chuckled, then thought of something, and his face suddenly collapsed. A 3rd-level body refinement cultivator from the hangman, the bureau can probably reward you with 20,000 to 25,000 merit points. You killed 2 this time, that's 50,000. Damn, I've been in the bureau for so many years, and I haven't saved up 50,000 merit points. You kid earned it in 3 minutes. Jiang Heng said calmly, if you can kill Ding Yan, I don't mind handing him over to you. Lu Zehai. Alright, the matter here is resolved, I don't know what the situation is in the southwest. Jiang Heng thought for a while, then took out his mobile phone and contacted the Martial Security Bureau to inquire about the situation in the southwest of Yukon District. He even killed one and captured 2 Hongmen red sticks who had barely stepped into the 3rd level of body refinement after taking drugs, with the help of Zhang Yunliang and Duan Zhenyu and others. Sure enough, the southwest was just a feint, and the appearance of Shi Fo Peng Long was to attract the attention of most of the Martial Security Bureau members. And Ding Yan and Mo Sanyang's side was the real target of the Hongmen. Once their operation was successful, killing Jiang Heng and Lu Zhihai, the chances of winning for both sides would be reversed again. Soon, Zhang Yunliang led people to Guanbei Street. Looking at the dense spider web cracks on the ground and the 2 corpses on the ground, the joy on his face was almost uncontrollable. This battle was a complete victory. The decline of the Hongmen in Yukon district has already appeared, and they will definitely have no power to fight back next. The crowd took several corpses back to the Martial Security Bureau, and the news that Jiang Heng fought 2 enemies alone and killed 2 third-level Hongmen red sticks had already spread. Unconsciously, everyone's judgment on Jiang Heng's strength has changed from the weakest of the 4 team leaders to one of the best, possibly the strongest except for Liao Jiang, the captain of the first team. The mission is over, and the remaining matters will be handed over to the interrogation section in the internal affairs section. Jiang Heng returned to the Guangxin Street garrison room and calculated his merit points this time. During this period, he also spent some merit points to buy some experimental materials that were not available outside for Peiyu. There are still 6,000 merit points left in the account. If you add this mission, that would be 56,000 merit points. It seems like a lot, but actually. Jiang Heng picked up the medicine bottle containing the dragon scale flame ointment placed on the table, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. From 5 grams at a time at the beginning, to gradually increasing to 6 or 7 grams later, and finally to 10 grams at a time. In just half a month, this bottle of 100 grams of ointment has been eaten by Jiang Heng. Moreover, after entering the mid-stage of the 3rd level, the effect became lower and lower. This ointment is essentially just stimulating the fusion of one's own flesh and blood with external flame energy, which can be understood as some kind of poison. And the easiest thing for Jiang Heng to enhance with the disease erosion transformation is poison resistance. I'm afraid that even if he spends 30,000 merit points to buy another bottle of dragon scale flame ointment, it is estimated that he can only increase his body refinement level by about 0.20. Spending 30,000 merit points to buy such a small improvement is really a bit painful. And in the Martial Security Bureau Mall, he can't find any other auxiliary drugs that are stronger than dragon scale flame ointment. Jiang Heng sighed softly, if it really doesn't work, I can only buy another bottle. Next, after entering the mid to late stage of the 3rd level, and the development progress of bone potential exceeds 50%, the importance of body refinement level will continue to increase. Because the development potential of the body's cell bioenergy is already nearing its end. The 3 major barriers of skin membrane, muscles, and bones are the most important sources of human bioenergy. After the development is completed, the role of martial arts will only remain as the purest combat skills. And entering the 4th level of body refinement, and even breaking through to the 5th level of body refinement as soon as possible, transforming and changing one's bones, is the most important thing. Once one transforms and changes one's bones, releasing the aura, one can even soar into the air, like an ancient banished immortal. Its strength is not the same as the 4th level of body refinement. One's own talent and roots will also be reshaped, and one's lifespan will be extended. And the earlier one breaks through, the better the effect of transforming and changing one's bones. Jiang Heng shook his head and retracted his thoughts. It's still too early to think about breaking through to the 5th level of body refinement now. However, it's always right to improve one's body refinement level as soon as possible. He was just about to start practicing. At this time, his mobile phone suddenly rang, and the screen showed a call from Zhang Yunliang. Jiang Heng picked up the phone and answered the call. Hello, Director. Jiang Heng, come to the Bureau. I have already told the Director of the General Bureau about your achievements during this period, he wants to see you now. Director of the General Bureau, Wang Jinglin. Jiang Heng was slightly stunned, then nodded and said, okay. Then he left the Guangxin Street garrison room and went to the Martial Security Bureau. A moment later, the director's office. Jiang Heng knocked on the door, and Zhang Yunliang's voice came from inside. Come in. Jiang Heng then pushed the door open. At this time, Zhang Yunliang was sitting behind his desk. And on his computer screen, a figure of an old man in uniform was displayed. His temples are gray, his face is old, and he is now 75 years old. He is Wang Jinglin, the director of the Najiang City Martial Security General Bureau. He has been the director of the Najiang City Martial Security General Bureau for 30 years. From the beginning of the creation of the Najiang Martial Security Bureau, he organized manpower little by little, confronted local forces, and finally expanded the Najiang Martial Security to its current state. If it weren't for Wang Jinglin's efforts over the years, Najiang City would probably have been completely controlled by the Hongmen and reduced to the next turbulent and divided Thai Myanmar administrative region. Zhang Yunliang waved to Jiang Heng. Jiang Heng, come over, this is Director Wang of our Martial Security General Bureau. Jiang Heng walked to the camera and nodded to Wang Jinglin. Hello, Director Wang. He once told me that you are a rare genius in our Martial Security Bureau for so many years. Jiang Heng nodded. Professor Li has helped me a lot. Is that so? Wang Jinglin nodded slightly and asked with a smile, then are you interested in transferring to the General Bureau here? The tasks and challenges here will be more than in Yukon District. Cough cough. Zhang Yunliang coughed violently, looking at Wang Jinglin with black lines all over his head. Director Wang, that's not right, you didn't say before that you were going to poach people from me. Wang Jinglin patted his head and said with a smile, oh, I'm sorry, I'm old and a bit forgetful, I accidentally said it. Zhang Yunliang ignored him and said directly to Jiang Heng, Director Wang said that you have made great contributions to the Martial Security Bureau this time, and have continuously laid the foundation for victory. In terms of both emotion and reason, you should be given some extra rewards. Extra rewards? Jiang Heng's eyes showed a bit of curiosity. Wang Jinglin nodded with a smile. In fact, the resources you see in the Martial Security Bureau Mall are not complete. There are also some extremely rare special resources that can only be seen and used by those with the rank of Sergeant 3rd class or higher. And according to the merits you have obtained in this operation, I can open up this part of special resources to you in advance. Chapter 78, Essence of Flame Breath. The Director's Office. After Wang Jinglin finished speaking, Jiang Heng's eyes lit up slightly. So there was such a benefit. This can be regarded as support for geniuses. Besides, you have made great contributions to the Bureau, so it cannot be regarded as violating the principle of exchanging merits for rewards of the Martial Security Bureau. Wang Jinglin in the video smiled and looked at Jiang Heng. What do you think? Jiang Heng immediately replied, I think it's okay, thank you, Director. Wang Jinglin chuckled. Although I have given you permission to access these resources this time, you still have to spend merit points to purchase them. And it is only limited to your own use. You are not allowed to exchange or purchase them for others, and you are not allowed to disclose any information about these special resources. Do you understand this? Jiang Heng nodded. I understand. That's good, Lao Zhang, show it to him. Yes. Zhang Yunliang smiled and nodded, then turned to look at Jiang Heng. This time you killed 2 third-level martial artists from Hongmen, so I will give you 50,000 merit points. How many merit points do you have in your account? There are still about 6,000. Jiang Heng replied. Zhang Yunliang nodded slightly, then I will give you 56,000 merit points. You can purchase these special resources at will within this limit. After speaking, he took out a tablet computer as thin as a cicada's wings. After entering the password, a hidden pop-up window appeared on the screen interface. It showed special resources that Jiang Heng had never seen in the internal mall of the Martial Security Bureau before. They were listed in rows, all of which were extremely expensive and had purchase limits. Zhang Yunliang suggested, your strength is improving very quickly, and I don't know what your current physical injuries are. If the biological myofunctional syndrome is more serious, I recommend you buy an A-type muscle corrosion inhibitor. When Jiang Heng heard this, his eyes moved down and looked at a line of text on the interface. Class A muscle relaxant. After injection, it can greatly relieve the user's biological myofunctional syndrome. Price: 122,000 merit points. Jiang Heng twitched his lips after reading it and moved his eyes away without hesitation. He doesn't need this thing to treat the biological myofunctional syndrome, and it's too expensive. It costs 22,000 merit points to buy one. He looked at several pages of interfaces on the screen, thought for a while, and asked, is there any medicine that can enhance the training efficiency of Yenshi breathing techniques, or something that contains a lot of Yenshi? Zhang Yunliang was slightly stunned. This kind of thing is available in the normal version of the mall. It's called Dragon Scale Fire Ointment. Jiang Heng shook his head. I bought it, but the effect is not good enough. Zhang Yunliang was a little surprised. Dragon Scale Fire Ointment is a ointment that even 4th level and even 5th level physical bodies can adapt to. It doesn't work well either. He silently exchanged glances with Wang Jinglin in the video, with some inexplicable meaning in their eyes. Before Jiang Heng came to the Martial Security Bureau, he had already told Wang Jinglin about Jiang Heng's past experience. In just half a year, he went from starting from scratch to cultivating to the third level of the physical body. Is this possible? Naturally, it is also possible. In the major administrative regions of the world, or among the top geniuses gathered in Tianmen, Australia, there are many such people. But these people must have two characteristics. The first is that they are extremely talented, and the second is that they have sufficient resources, not only extremely precious material resources, but more importantly, they have real powerhouses standing at the high level of martial arts as guidance. And Jiang Heng only occupies the first point at most, which is extraordinary talent. As for the second point, having a lot of resources, this is obviously impossible in Yukon district. That is to say, Jiang Heng must have some unknown secrets behind him. For example, is there a high-level expert guiding him? And the only thing Zhang Yunliang can think of is that legendary super powerhouse who returns to worship his ancestors every 10 years, Senior Yuan Jinggang, who walked out of Nanjing City 100 years ago. In addition, the martial arts practiced by Jiang Heng have always been the Vajra series of martial arts created by Senior Yuan Jinggang, so the answer is obvious. Jiang Heng is a disciple secretly recruited by Senior Yuan Jinggang. And the reason why he kept it secret may be that Senior Yuan Jinggang has powerful enemies in other territories. In order to protect Jiang Heng, he did not publicize it. This is also the main reason why Wang Jinglin insisted on meeting Jiang Heng. In this way, some of the special things about Jiang Heng are not surprising. Wang Jinglin pondered slightly and said, "I'm afraid there is no medicine that is better than dragon scale fire ointment. However, there is an energy essence that contains a lot of yenshi." Jiang Heng was slightly stunned, and then recalled what energy essence was. There are rumors on the internet that energy essence is a collection of special auras wandering between heaven and earth, which is extremely rare. It is said that it mainly comes from behind Tianmen and the gathering place of special auras in Australia, and only a small part is mined from rare mineral veins all over the world. Zhang Yunliang then switched the interface and adjusted the tablet to the energy essence interface. There were more than a dozen kinds of energy essence on this interface. But hundreds of special auras have been discovered, and a variety of breathing techniques have been developed based on this. Yenshi is considered one of them. Jiang Heng glanced at it and quickly found the line of Yenshi energy essence on the interface. Yenshi energy essence, it contains a lot of Yenshi energy, which can be used by users to practice. Price: 1 gram, 11,000 merit points. The main reason why Dragon Scale Fire Ointment lost its effect is because the toxicity in it was transformed into poison resistance by the disease Erosion. And Jiang Heng's resistance to Yenshi has reached the upper limit of the third level of the physical body and cannot be improved any further. Thinking of this, Jiang Heng's eyes lit up, and then he looked at the price below, and his eyes twitched slightly. It costs 11,000 merit points to sell 1 gram. Why don't you just rob someone? Wang Jinglin saw the change in Jiang Heng's expression, coughed lightly and said, "Xiao Zhang, don't think that this 1 gram is a small amount. But in fact, each gram contains a lot of Yenshi energy. 1 gram can be sold for nearly 1 million outside, and it is still priceless." Jiang Heng reluctantly nodded. "Well, I know. The pricing in the Martial Security Bureau Mall is actually reasonable, mainly to benefit the members of the Martial Security Bureau." Jiang Heng didn't rush to make a decision, but continued to read all the special resources on the few pages. Some things were useless to him, but some were indeed good and might bring him some improvement. For example, a special woven fingertip cover, rumored to be made of special materials from Australia, could increase the intensity of chi perception by 30% when worn on the hand, making it especially suitable for martial artists who practice boxing. Jiang Heng was quite envious after seeing it. But the only problem was that he couldn't afford it. In the end, Jiang Heng reluctantly withdrew his gaze. "I'll choose this Flame Breath Energy Essence, 5 grams. 5 grams was 55,000 merit points. With this, Jiang Heng's remaining merit points were only 1,000. The merit points he had just obtained from killing Ding Yan and Mo Sanyang were completely used up. Money is really never enough. Wang Jinglin looked at the regretful expression on Jiang Heng's face and found it a little funny. It seemed that the senior behind him hadn't given him too many resources, wanting him to fight for them himself. He said, "Okay, the General Administration will send 5 grams of Flame Breath Energy Essence to Yukon District tomorrow. I hope you can make good use of it and live up to expectations." Jiang Heng nodded and said, "Yes." After Jiang Heng left the director's office, Zhang Yunliang asked, Director Wang, do you think it's possible that little Zhang is a disciple of Senior Yuan Jinggang? Wang Jinglin smiled. We can only say it's possible. Who knows if it's true? Perhaps some other senior happened to pass by Nanjing City, took a liking to him, and gave him a stroke of good fortune. It's not impossible. We don't need to worry about these things. We just need to confirm whether this kid's character is trustworthy. Zhang Yunliang pondered and nodded slightly. I don't think there's any problem with that. Today, little Zhang saved an 8-year-old child from a level 3 martial artist of the Hongmen. He also saved the lives of the family of the breakfast stall owner near his home, and he doesn't treat his team members harshly. His character should be good. Then there's no problem. Wang Jinglin nodded slightly, then thought of something and smiled. By the way, your niece has been searching all over Nanjing City for a month and hasn't found any trace of Senior Yuan. If she knew that Senior Yuan had already taken a disciple, what would she think? Zhang Yunliang was speechless for a moment. Jiang Heng left the Martial Security Bureau and returned to the Guangxin Street garrison room. He was looking forward to the effects of the flame breath energy essence tomorrow. Then he went to the martial arts room on the first floor and began to practice the 3 forms of the crippled ape. The proficiency of the 3 forms of the crippled ape had already increased to 91%. Only about 2 more practices were left before breaking through to the perfect realm. He assumed the starting stance, and the biological energy in his body turned into dozens of winding qi sensations, slowly flowing through his body. Emerald Bamboo Summer Resort. At this moment, the underground hall was empty, with only Pang Long left. The air seemed so heavy that it could condense into water. A month ago, only Lu Yuheng was missing. Half a month ago, Tai Gui Zhaoshan was gone. Now, even Ding Yan and Mo Sanyang were all dead. And all of this was because of Jiang Heng, who had joined the Martial Security Bureau for less than half a year. The veins on Pang Long's forehead bulged. He hadn't paid much attention to it before, only entrusting Ding Yan and Mo Sanyang to deal with this person. After all, the biggest threat to him in Yukon district was still Zhang Yunliang. But he didn't expect Jiang Heng's strength to progress so quickly. Now that several level 3 red sticks were all dead, and the remaining subordinates were useless, the Yukon district Hongmen would be devoured by the Martial Security Bureau sooner or later. Even himself, if he didn't leave soon, he would probably be surrounded and killed by the Martial Security Bureau. Buzz. The phone vibrated. It was a video call from Lin Zhenan, the chief master of the Hongmen headquarters. Pang Long's throat rolled slightly. He had lost Yukon district. He took a deep breath, slowly exhaled, suppressed the unease in his heart, and answered the video call. On the other side of the video was a martial arts field. Lin Zhenan, who was already 85 years old, sat cross-legged with white hair and beard, a smile on his face. His tall body supported the martial arts uniform, looking like a kind and amiable old man. But Pang Long knew how bloody and cruel the methods of this chief master, who had been in charge of Hongmen for 50 years, were. Pang Long clasped his fists and said, Chief Master. Lin Zhenan, who was sitting cross-legged on the other side, slowly raised his eyelids. Little Pang, I heard that you didn't do very well this time. Cold sweat broke out on Pang Long's forehead. In front of outsiders, he was as ferocious and fierce as a lion and tiger, but at this moment, he was like a frightened prey targeted by a hunter. He took a step back, and his huge body knelt down on one knee without hesitation. Chief Master, it was my incompetence. I am willing to accept the punishment. It's good to admit your mistakes. I'm just afraid of those who don't admit it and like to quibble and make excuses. Lin Zhenan nodded slowly. Pang Long breathed a slight sigh of relief. It seemed that he wouldn't die. He clasped his fists and said, I will return to the headquarters to receive punishment. Return. Lin Zhenan leaned forward slightly, his old face approached the screen, and his pair of turbid old eyes were like tiger eyes, coldly staring at Pang Long. This time, you have greatly embarrassed my Hongmen. I thought it would be a dragon-tiger fight, but I didn't expect it to be a one-sided massacre. If outsiders knew and thought that my Hongmen was just a paper tiger that could be bitten at will, what crime should you be charged with? Pang Long was stunned, unable to speak. Lin Zhenan slowly withdrew his gaze and said calmly, Go find a way to kill a few high-level officials of the Yukon District Martial Security Bureau, let the Martial Security Bureau see some blood, and then come back to receive punishment. Yes. The video call ended. The underground hall became quiet again. At this time, Pang Long's back was already covered in sweat. He sat back on the big chair, his face gloomy. Kill high-level officials of the Martial Security Bureau. Now, the cameras within a 10-mile radius of the Marshal Security Bureau are so dense that they can be described as a post every 10 steps and a sentry every 5 steps. With just himself and the remaining forces of the Hongmen, he would probably be stopped by Zhang Yunliang before he even reached them. Peng Long sat gloomily on the big chair, wondering how long he had been thinking, and finally thought of something, picked up his phone and dialed a number. Chapter 79 Late Level 3. The next day, at dawn, 5 grams of flame breath energy essence were delivered to Jiang Heng from the headquarters. Inside the room, Jiang Heng sat at his computer desk, opening the metal safe in front of him. Refracting the overhead light, they emitted a dazzling fiery red halo. Each rice grain-sized crystal should be considered 1 gram. This is flame breath energy essence. Jiang Heng nodded slightly. The flame breath energy content in the world is extremely low. One wonders how much is actually contained within this energy essence. According to the information about energy essence displayed on the interface by Zhang Yunliang last night, energy essence generally has 2 uses. The first is to hold it in your hand and absorb the flame breath energy inside the crystal through cultivation. The absorption efficiency of this method is relatively low, but the benefit is that the speed is stable and there is no risk. The second is to hold it in your mouth and absorb it through cultivation. This method has extremely fast absorption speed, but the risk is very high. Once absorbed in excess, it will greatly increase the risk of contracting flame breath syndrome. And Jiang Heng naturally chose the second option. He reached out and put the fiery red crystal, smaller than a grain of rice, into his mouth, holding it on the tip of his tongue. Then he sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice the 3rd-level candle flame breathing technique. Adjusting his breathing frequency, he began to outline and meditate on a ball of flame in the void and darkness of his mind. The flame breath energy within the fiery red crystal held on the tip of his tongue seemed to be drawn out by this spiritual will. The crystal surface became slightly hot, and a large amount of invisible and colorless flame breath flowed out, merging into Jiang Heng's body and flesh. Jiang Heng's eyes lit up slightly. Such pure flame breath energy. This amount is several times more than the flame breath energy absorbed from the outside world through normal cultivation. Jiang Heng stopped thinking and cultivated with all his might, squeezing the energy essence in his mouth, allowing the flame breath in the energy essence to continuously invade his body and flesh. Flame breath syndrome is worsening. Time passed, and more than 3 hours later, Jiang Heng slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, the skin all over his body faintly concealed circles of dark red, flame-like tattoos. With just a slight movement, each circle of tattoo would emit a sharp, knife-like pain. Current state: severe flame breath syndrome, mild biological muscle dysfunction syndrome. Jiang Heng slowly opened his mouth, enduring the severe, knife-like pain all over his body, and spat out the flame breath energy essence in his mouth. Then, he silently recited in his heart, disease erosion, conversion. The gentle and profound power of disease erosion quickly surged into Jiang Heng's body, clearing the lesions in his body and converting them into his own physical strength and proficiency in the candle flame breathing technique. After a few short breaths, Jiang Heng dispersed the power of disease erosion. The severe flame breath syndrome had already subsided, the faint dark red tattoos on the skin surface had faded, returning to a healthy color, and the severe pain in his body had completely disappeared, with the cells all over his body strengthened again. Jiang Heng breathed a sigh of relief, then opened the panel. Body level: 3.50 right pointing arrow 3.55. Technique: Candle Flame Series 3rd Level Breathing Technique, Proficiency 61 right pointing arrow 70%. His body level had increased by 0.05, and the proficiency of the candle flame breathing technique had increased by 9%. The effect is not bad. Jiang Heng nodded slightly, picked up the flame breath energy essence he had just spat out, and took a look. At this time, this 1 gram of crystal had been reduced by about half after Jiang Heng's full absorption for 3 hours. 0.5 grams for 1 use, that's 5,000 merit points. Jiang Heng's mouth twitched, and he shook his head helplessly, saying, "It's not cheap, forget it, I'm not afraid to spend money, it's a good thing if it works." He wiped the saliva off the fiery red crystal and put it back into the jade box. He went to the bathroom to wash up, wiped the sweat off his body, changed into a martial arts uniform, and came to the martial arts room on the 1st floor to begin practicing the 3 styles of the crippled ape. At this time, the proficiency of the 3 styles of the crippled ape had been increased to 96%. After today's practice, it should be able to break through to perfection. With this thought in mind, Jiang Heng began to reverse practice the martial arts. Stepping with his left foot in a void step, his right arm pulled back like drawing a 1,000-pound bow, his fist facing outwards in a mountain-crushing stance, he executed the first style of the crippled ape, mountain collapse and river split. The dozens of strands of qi sensation formed by the bioenergy of the cells in his body reversed along the direction of the meridians. Several hours passed again, until the afternoon. Jiang Heng ended this reverse practice. Familiar, intense pain tore through his muscles, and the cracked ground beneath his feet was stained with sweat. Although Jiang Heng had been very cautious, the practice during this time had still caused considerable damage to the martial arts room. This floor also needs to be repaired. Jiang Heng wiped the sweat from his forehead, then silently recited in his heart, "Disease erosion, conversion." The power of disease erosion quickly cleared the lesions of biological muscle dysfunction syndrome in his body, converting them into the proficiency of the 3 styles of the crippled ape. The 3 styles of the crippled ape, which had originally been gradually approaching perfection, gradually reached perfection under the blessing of the various experiences and memories brought by the power of disease erosion. The formerly stagnant muscles of force exertion and the qi sensation running routes were also completely improved and mastered. Jiang Heng opened the panel. Martial arts, 3 styles of the crippled ape, perfection. Finally stepped into perfection. Jiang Heng nodded in satisfaction, silently estimating his current combat power. Although his current body level is still in the middle stage of the 3rd level, he has already cultivated a professional level martial art, the 3 styles of the crippled ape, to perfection. Most 3rd level martial artists, even in the later peak stages of the 3rd level, may not be able to cultivate a professional level martial art to perfection. Moreover, after cultivating the 3 styles of the crippled ape to perfection, the potential of the bones has also been developed to 60%, and the bioenergy that can be controlled in the body must be several times stronger than when he first stepped into the 3rd level of the body. In addition, the seed shard brought to Jiang Heng a neural network far surpassing martial artists of the same realm. This allows him to maintain a neural reaction speed no less than a peak 3rd level martial artist, even though his body level is still stuck in the middle stage of the 3rd level. With such strength, I'm afraid that the vast majority of late-stage level 3 martial artists would not be his match. Within the Yukon District Martial Security Agency, aside from Director Zhang Yunliang, the other branch captains probably wouldn't be his match either. Jiang Heng nodded slightly. Then, standing in place, he began to sort through the martial arts he had learned. Vajra 8 forms, Heart Tiger Stance, White Ape 6 forms, 8-armed fist, Remnant Ape 3 forms. The perfection of these martial arts gradually transformed Jiang Heng's understanding of martial arts, entering a new realm. After a moment, Jiang Heng seemed thoughtful, muttering to himself. Perhaps, I can make some changes to the Remnant Ape 3 forms, making it more suitable for me. Time slowly passed. In the following days, Jiang Heng supplemented his practice with the flame breath energy essence every night, cultivating the level 3 candle flame breathing technique. Whether it was his physical body level or the proficiency of the level 3 candle flame breathing technique, both were steadily improving. The latest novels can be found first on 6_9_shu_ba. During the day, he followed Zhang Yunliang's arrangements, steadily advancing the removal of the Hongmen's forces in the Yukon district. In fact, after Nether Shadow Ding Yan and Blood Rain Mo Sanyang were both killed, anyone with eyes could see that the Yukon district Hongmen was already on the verge of collapse. Even if Stone Buddha Peng Long was strong, he was still only at the peak of level 3. Without support, the downfall of the Yukon district Hongmen was inevitable. Therefore, the remaining Hongmen disciples in the Yukon district scattered and fled. Only some stubborn ones, or those who thought they were well hidden, remained hidden in the Yukon district, gradually being cleared out by the Martial Security Agency. As for Stone Buddha Peng Long, he was suspected of fleeing the Yukon district, and his whereabouts were unknown. Several days later, early morning. Outside the window, the cold wind howled, and fallen leaves fluttered. It was already winter, approaching December, which meant the new year was approaching. Jiang Heng opened his eyes from the bed, slightly stretched his muscles and bones, wore a single layer of clothing, and opened the window to let in the cold air, barely feeling the chill of the outside world. After reaching level 3 in his physical body, his body surface temperature also stabilized at 36 degrees Celsius, and it was difficult to change unless it was extremely cold or extremely hot. He went to the bathroom to wash his face, and then opened the panel to check his status. Name: Jiang Heng. Physical body level: 3.85. Cultivation method: Candle Flame Series Level 3 Breathing Technique Perfect. Martial arts: Remnant Ape 3 forms modified. Current status: mild flame breath syndrome, mild biological muscle dysfunction syndrome. In the past few days, Jiang Heng insisted on taking flame breath energy essence every day to assist in cultivating the candle flame breathing technique. His physical body level also increased from level 3.55 to level 3.85, officially entering the late stage of the physical body, and was already approaching the peak of level 3. During these few days, he also took the time to try to adjust and change the open double angle bracket remnant 8-3 forms close double angle bracket. With his current perfect state of open double angle bracket remnant 8-3 forms close double angle bracket, he already knew this martial art like the back of his hand, no less than Senior Yuan Jinggong 100 years ago. After this period of deliberation and research, constantly adjusting the chi flow route of this martial art, he finally developed a more powerful open double angle bracket remnant 8-3 forms modified close double angle bracket. Back then, Senior Yuan Jinggong created this martial art while his body was being severely tortured by illness. The chi flow route in his body had to avoid some severely damaged parts. Jiang Heng didn't have to consider these things, he could recklessly unleash his full strength without worrying about getting hurt. Huff! The wet cold water from the towel flowed across his cheeks. Jiang Heng wrung out the towel and hung it on the hanger. His physical body level entered the late stage of level 3, and the strength of the neural network blessed by the Tao seed exceeded the peak of level 3, approaching the direction of level 4. With Jiang Heng's current strength, he was no longer afraid of Stone Buddha Peng Long. The huge sense of oppression he felt when he first met Peng Long when he was in the reserve team had long since disappeared. And what the reserve team leader Bai Yang said at that time: "If you have the strength, you can go to Peng Long's house and kill him on the spot." Now it seems that there is a possibility of realizing it. It's a pity, I don't know where this guy ran off to. Jiang Heng thought with some regret in his heart. The Yukon district Hongmen collapsed, and the Hongmen disciples inside scattered and left, and Stone Buddha Peng Long also disappeared, most likely having left the Yukon district. Nanjing City is so big, he is just a branch captain of the Yukon District Martial Security Agency, and it is impossible to search the entire Nanjing City. Jiang Heng walked out of the bathroom and glanced at the jade box on the computer desk. This is the jade box containing the flame breath energy essence. Of the 5 1-gram flame breath energy essences in the jade box, 3.5 have already turned into a translucent color, and the flame breath energy inside has been completely absorbed by Jiang Heng. The remaining 1.5 are only enough for Jiang Heng to practice for another 3 days. But it should be enough for him to improve to the peak of level 3. This thing is a good thing, the effect is stable, unlike poison, the effect will weaken at every turn, and it needs to be constantly replaced. Jiang Heng sighed in his heart, the only problem is that it's too expensive. He went to the wardrobe, opened it, and put on a brand new Martial Security Agency uniform. At this moment, there were 5 neatly arranged Martial Security Agency uniforms in the wardrobe. The previous uniform was burned by the flame transformed by Qi when he fought against Ding Yan and Mo Sanyang. He originally wanted to change into a fireproof uniform, so as not to burn a uniform every time he fought in the future, but after asking around, he found that there was none, so he had to give up. So he asked the Internal Affairs section to urgently make 5 identical uniforms according to his body shape. Jiang Heng fastened his belt and was about to go out. At this moment, the phone suddenly made a buzzing sound. An emergency mission has appeared in Yukon District. Please, Jiang Heng, the captain of the 4th branch of the Yukon District Martial Security Agency, go to the Martial Security Agency to assemble. When Jiang Heng arrived, Zhang Yunliang, Duan Zhenyu, the captain of the 3rd branch, and several group leaders from the 3rd branch were already seated in the conference room, the atmosphere quite serious. Jiang Heng stepped into the conference room and asked, "Director, what happened?" Zhang Yunliang replied, "News from the headquarters, a criminal from the Thai Myanmar Administrative Region has crossed the border defense and is heading towards Yukon District." Jiang Heng was slightly stunned. There is a border line between the Thai Myanmar Administrative Region and the Tianfu Administrative Region, and border troops are stationed on the border line. Normally speaking, criminals smuggling from the Thai Myanmar Administrative Region into the Tianfu Administrative Region mostly come via river crossings or extremely remote cliffs. The probability of success is not high, and there is a high chance of being intercepted by the border troops. Generally, criminals run back when intercepted. But according to Zhang Yunliang, this criminal not only didn't escape after being intercepted but broke through the border troops' defense line and headed directly towards Nanjing City. Jiang Heng asked, puzzled, "Have you found out this person's identity information?" Zhang Yunliang nodded, "It has been found. It's Peng Kuiyan, the leader of the mercenary organization Snake Fang, who escaped from the border prison in the Thai Myanmar administrative region last time. Jiang Heng was slightly stunned upon hearing this, and his gaze immediately sharpened. Mercenary organization Snake Fang. Isn't this the organization of the 2 smugglers he killed a month ago? Of the 2 people Jiang Heng caught before, one was Peng Xiaochuan, whose lower body bones were completely shattered and who only lasted a day before dying. The other was Lin Lang, who lay in bed for 3 days and also died in the hospital. Now, even if this Snake Fang leader breaks through the border troops' defense line, he still wants to come to Nanjing City, and he's heading towards Yukon District. Jiang Heng narrowed his eyes slightly. Could it be that he's coming for me? If that's the case, this person is far away in the Thai Myanmar administrative region, so how would he suddenly know about the deaths of Peng Xiaochuan and the other? Who told him? Jiang Heng raised his head and asked, Director, what is this person's strength level? The military's judgment at the border is mid to late stage 3, otherwise, it would be impossible to break through the border defense line. Zhang Yunliang explained, the headquarters can't pinpoint this person's location accurately, but can only roughly determine that he is heading towards Yukon District. It's estimated that he'll reach the outskirts of Yukon District in 2 to 3 hours. Zhang Yunliang stood up and looked at Jiang Heng and Duan Zhenyu. Therefore, the headquarters has dispatched a branch team to set up defenses in Yukon District, and our Yukon branch will also participate in this mission. The first team is still eradicating the last remnants of the Hongmen in Yukon District, and the second team captain has already gone to the headquarters to carry out another mission. Therefore, this emergency mission will be entrusted to you too. Zhang Yunliang's gaze was serious as he continued. It's still possible to track this person's whereabouts in the wild, but once he enters Yukon District, I'm afraid it will be like looking for a needle in a haystack, difficult to find. If such a dangerous person hides in Yukon District, I'm afraid it will bring us big trouble. So, we must kill him before he enters Yukon District. Yes. Jiang Heng and Duan Zhenyu responded in unison and were about to gather their team members to set off. Jiang Heng's 4th branch hasn't been established yet, and his current identity is somewhat inclined towards the deputy captain of the 3rd branch. However, he was the 7th group leader of the 3rd branch before, so it doesn't matter now, and the old captain, Duan Zhenyu, doesn't mind either. Just then, Zhang Yunliang's phone rang. He answered the phone, listened for a few seconds, and then said to everyone, the branch team from the headquarters has arrived. Let's go take a look. Then he put away his phone, paused, and added, this time, the headquarters sent the 13th branch, everyone pay attention. Upon hearing this, Jiang Heng's eyes showed a hint of doubt. He turned his head to look at Duan Zhenyu beside him and asked in a low voice, what's wrong with the 13th branch? Why do we need to pay attention? Duan Zhenyu walked to his side and explained in a low voice, the 13th branch is not the problem is the 13th branch's captain. You haven't been in the Wuhan Bureau for very long, so you don't know. The captain of this 13th branch from the headquarters, Pan Rufeng, is a troublemaker. He acts domineeringly and often does whatever it takes to grab credit, offending many people. Jiang Heng was a little surprised. Can such a person be a captain in the headquarters? Duan Zhenyu smiled helplessly. Who told him he's a genius? Before you, he was the youngest branch captain in the Nanjing City Wuhan Bureau, entering stage 3 at the age of 20. Now that a year has passed, he has already entered the late stage of stage 3, and in the future, he is expected to enter the Tianfu Wuhan Hall. So others can't do anything about him and can only tolerate him. At this time, a young man nearly 2 meters tall, with a buzz cut and a thick neck, stood in front of the Wuhan Bureau gate, his expression calm and indifferent, his aura quite impressive. Behind him, several police cars were neatly parked, and a team of 20 or so Wuhan members was lined up outside the Wuhan branch. This person was obviously Pan Rufeng, the captain of the 13th branch from the headquarters. When Pan Rufeng saw Zhang Yunliang approaching, the expression on his face changed slightly. Director Zhang, hello. Hello. Zhang Yunliang nodded slightly. Pan Rufeng's gaze swept over Jiang Heng and Duan Zhenyu behind Zhang Yunliang with a hint of scrutiny. These two are the branch captains from the Yukon branch who will cooperate with me in the operation. Zhang Yunliang frowned. It's not cooperating, but coordinating. There is no distinction between superior and subordinate. Pan Rufeng smiled, his expression unchanged. It's all the same. Our headquarters has more experience in arresting this kind of criminal. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere suddenly became a little cold. Beside Zhang Yunliang, Jiang Heng and Duan Zhenyu exchanged a silent glance. As expected, he's quite arrogant. After Pan Rufeng finished speaking, he turned his head and said to Jiang Heng and Duan Zhenyu. You two are already ready, right? Without further ado, let's set off now. Zhang Yunliang suppressed the displeasure in his heart, knowing that it was not appropriate to flare up at this time, and then nodded slightly towards Jiang Heng and the other two behind him. Jiang Heng and the other two nodded, and then gathered the third branch to set off. The two teams, one in front and one behind, drove to the western border of Yukon District. Shangmei Street, western suburbs of Yukon District. At this time, the 13th branch of the headquarters and a dozen cars of the 3rd branch of Yukon District had stopped at the intersection of the street. Nearby pedestrians and stall holders had been dispersed, leaving only dozens of Wuan members gathered here. The two branch captains of Yukon District, let's discuss the countermeasures. Not far away, Pan Rufeng walked over, his eyes swept over Duan Zhenyu and Jiang Heng, focusing on Jiang Heng for a moment. His attitude eased slightly, with a hint of respect for a genius, and he said, You are Jiang Heng, right? It's pretty good to be able to break through to stage 3 at the age of 18. If you have the opportunity in the future, you can come to the headquarters to work, and I can take you to earn merit together. Jiang Heng raised his eyebrows slightly and said nothing. You, take me. Pan Rufeng retracted his gaze and continued. You too, according to the information obtained from the military, the strength of the criminal who came this time is probably in the late stage of stage 3, so he must be difficult to deal with. After all, there is still a gap between the strength of the headquarters and the branch. The men I brought this time are all elites from the bureau, suitable as the main fighting force. As for the teams you two brought, why not have them act as backup on the north and south sides of the street, in case of accidents? Duan Zhenyu's face darkened upon hearing this. So, the team you brought can fight head-on, and the team I brought deserves to be your foil. That's quite an arrogant thing to say. He frowned. That might not be appropriate, would it? Pan Rufeng said calmly, this criminal's strength is at the late stage 3 realm. Captain Duan, you are only at the mid-stage 3 realm. I'm afraid you are not his opponent. Duan Zhenyu immediately said, then we should cooperate to deal with this person. Pan Rufeng shook his head. Concentrating in one place will only make it easier for him to escape. Only by dispersing our two teams to form an encirclement. The latest novels are available at 6_9_shu_ba. With the strong as the main force and the weak assisting from the side, we can better capture him. Duan Zhenyu was momentarily speechless. These words seemed very reasonable, but in reality, he just wanted to steal the credit. The western suburbs of Yukon District are bordered by a low-lying wilderness. If someone really appeared, they could be seen at a glance with binoculars from a high place. There's no need to expand the encirclement. Okay, then let's do as you say. He was too lazy to argue with Pan Rufeng. Providing support is fine. The overall strength of the Yukon District Wuan Bureau members is indeed inferior to that of the main bureau. If they really clashed head-on with the criminal as the main force, the safety of the team members would also be a problem. Since this guy wants the credit so much, let him have it. It's fine for us to pick up some scraps on the side. Pan Rufeng nodded with satisfaction. Good, thank you for your understanding, Captain Duan. After speaking, he turned and returned to his team. This person is notoriously arrogant in the main bureau, Xiao Zhang, don't take it too seriously. Jiang Heng nodded. He didn't really care about Pan Rufeng. What he was more concerned about was whether Peng Kuiyan, the leader of the Snake Fang group, had come to Yukon District to seek revenge on him. A cold glint flashed in Jiang Heng's eyes. If that was the case, then he must not be given a chance to escape. This person must die here. Subsequently, Duan Zhenyu himself led groups 1 to 3 to set up 3 kilometers to the left of Shangmei Street, occupying high ground for observation. Jiang Heng led groups 4 to 7 to set up on the right side of Shangmei Street. As for Pan Rufeng's 13th detachment, they deployed manpower on Shangmei Street and the 2 nearby streets. Ahem, I'm really impressed. I just rested for less than 2 days, and I'm being pulled up to work again. I don't even have time to concentrate on cultivation for a few days. Lu Zehai coughed a few times and stood with Jiang Heng on the rooftop of an abandoned residential building, looking at the situation in the distance. He had been recuperating ever since he was slashed by Ding Yan last time, and even his cultivation progress had been delayed. Otherwise, he might have already entered the 3rd stage of the physical body. Jiang Heng casually said, be content. You were given a week off. I've been working all week, and I haven't gotten much merit points. Lu Zehai sneered, that's right. You used to get tens of thousands of merit points at every turn. Naturally, you don't care about these few merit points now. Compared to Jiang Heng's previous mission rewards, this was indeed not much. After all, it was a collective mission, and he only coordinated in the middle, without much opportunity to take action. Jiang Heng was about to say something when his eyes suddenly narrowed. He saw a figure like a sharp arrow suddenly rushing out from the wilderness in the distance, heading straight for Shangmei Street on the left. This person must be Peng Kuiyan, the leader of the Snake Fang group. Jiang Heng frowned slightly. This speed is a full half an hour faster than expected. According to the information sent back from the military. In theory, this person should have reached Yukon district half an hour later. The speed of ordinary vehicles in the wilderness is not comparable to that of a stage 3 physical body martial artist. Peng Kuiyan's early arrival can only indicate one thing: he has been hiding his strength. This person's true strength is stronger than what the Border Defense Military and the main bureau estimated. Boom! A violent roar came from Shangmei Street. Peng Kuiyan plunged straight into the 13th Detachment's defense line. A brief moment of fierce fighting erupted. In just one exchange, Jiang Heng saw the body of Pan Rufeng, the captain of the 13th Detachment, flying out. His left leg was severed on the spot by Peng Kuiyan. Damn it, trash! Jiang Heng cursed inwardly. He had originally hoped that Pan Rufeng could hold Peng Kuiyan for a while, long enough for him to get there. Who would have thought that this guy couldn't even last 2 seconds? At this distance, Jiang Heng used his chi sense in his eyes and could already clearly see Peng Kuiyan's appearance. He looked somewhat similar to the original Peng Xiaochuan, so it could basically be determined that they were related by blood. In that case, the purpose of Peng Kuiyan's coming to Nanjing City is very likely to be to find trouble for him. Seeing Peng Kuiyan break out of the encirclement of Shangmei Street and about to disappear into the street, Jiang Heng's eyes sharpened. He couldn't let him get away. His figure suddenly jumped off the 8th floor rooftop, landing with a bang. Then, he transformed into a black thunderbolt, rushing towards the direction Peng Kuiyan was fleeing. Leaving Lu Zehai, still with a cigarette in his mouth, stunned in place on the rooftop, a question mark slowly appearing on his head. Shangmei Street was already a mess at this time. By the time Duan Zhenyu on the left arrived, Pan Rufeng was leaning against the corner of the wall, covered in sweat. His left leg had been severed below the knee by Peng Kuiyan, and a Wuan team member was bandaging his wound. Duan Zhenyu glanced at him with a gloomy expression, and finally couldn't help but curse, "Idiot." Pan Rufeng gritted his teeth and defended himself. The military misjudged his strength. This person is not a mid to late stage 3 martial artist at all, but a peak stage 3. Duan Zhenyu was too lazy to pay attention to him. If he had followed his original idea, and the 3 detachment leaders had concentrated on Shangmei Street and attacked this person at the same time. Even if they couldn't defeat him, they could retreat while fighting, or temporarily entangle him, enough to delay until the military reinforcements arrived later. Instead of being directly escaped by the other party like this, and disappearing into Yukon district without a trace. What a damn jinx! Duan Zhenyu cursed. Although the main problem with this mission failure was Pan Rufeng, he also had to bear some responsibility. Moreover, Yukon district was also his home, with relatives and friends here. If something went wrong in Yukon district because of letting Peng Kuiyan escape, or even if people died, Duan Zhenyu's heart was on fire. He was about to contact Jiang Heng on the other side to come back and concentrate. But he saw Lu Zehai leading other group members from the other side of the street to quickly concentrate. But Jiang Heng's figure was not seen among them. Duan Zhenyu was slightly stunned and asked in surprise, "Where's Jiang Heng?" Lu Zehai stopped and quickly said, "He ran off to chase down that criminal by himself." Duan Zhenyu's expression changed slightly. "What? Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.